Alrighty, folks. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, my friends. Welcome. I'm a little bit dark. Let's turn this up a little bit. There we go. What's up, folks? How you doing? Good to see you. Hey, nerdies. Space folks. Mondays. Mondays. That song's a little too hype. Y'all, how have you been? How was your weekend? How are you feeling? You feeling good? You feeling like talking about space games? Because, well, what else are we going to do around here? You got some Star Citizen stuff to go over. I've got things lined up for you. And it's looking like an interesting day, I think. I previewed a couple of these videos. Generally, a lot of talk with the ship teams over the last few last couple of years. Features that we've seen, we haven't seen, we've used, we haven't used. But overall, just kind of future features that are coming to Star Citizen ships. And there are some interesting ones. I know people have been wondering about physicalized damage. We've got tractor beams on here. And probably my most favorite and interested topic is like hover mode and VTOL flight. So I went and found a couple of different interviews with developers talking about these things. And we've got a couple hours of stuff to go through. So hope you guys are interested in a nice little developer showcase stream today. But welcome in. How you doing? Adam, good to see you. Razy, how long does he wait? How long do I wait for what? Vastin, how you doing? I'm gonna wait a little bit. Wait for people to trickle in. I try to do the starting soon screen. I started a little late today, around 2 minutes. I try to do like 5 minutes or so that people have time to filter in here, but it's morning time, I understand. Takes a little while to get out of bed, no problem. Also, apparently nobody sends out notifications. I gotta figure out a way to get around that. I tried to do it on Discord, but I think a lot of people just mute the Discord notifications. So I don't really know how best to message to people I'm going live, but I'm gonna keep trying to make that work a little bit better. Maybe I need to update the Discord notifications a bit. But yeah, Twitch doesn't seem to send them out very reliably, and I don't even know what happens with YouTube. What's up, Cotton? Holding down the mod gang on Twitch today. Thank you, appreciate you. Send a quick message, see if anybody else can drop by a mod. Bang Q! Hello. I feel like it's been a little while. How have you been? It's good to see you in chat. Water park. God, I could use a water park right now. How hot is it where you guys are? It's like overcast outside, but you wouldn't think with the heat. I guess it's more humidity right now than anything. Late gang? Late gang. Cat Mom, you're never late gang. You're always here within like one... Oh, I was trying to remember. Trying to remember that time term from Star Wars that they use. Parsec one. No, that's a distance. That's right. They always mess that up because it's a distance, not a time. But you're always here. Morning. That is no clue what MRI is other than the medical thing. Let's go with that then. 07's MRI. Navarkova. How you doing? Good morning. The Mist, Hippida, Shadow Spectre, hello folks, Stanko, Blandry, my friend, good to see ya. Punji with the toes, I see Toes Gang in here early, don't worry, I'm not gonna miss you. Murasam, good to see ya. Cadkill, hey ho. You were just outside, not one cloud, it's a nightmare. But at least the humidity might not be that bad then, huh? 90 degrees, 80% humidity, that's what I'm talking about. That's exactly what I expect from a water park too. You're on brand. Well done. Can you join my SC clan if possible? Of course. The link is down below the stream right now. Send us in an application and we'll get you in within the next 24 hours. As long as you're not like a pirate or something. 33 Celsius with 90% humidity. Jeez, Stanko, where are you? That is actual misery. That's not that bad here. Whew. Let me see. What are we doing here? Yeah, we're 80 degrees. Which would be what? 80 30, 52 minus 32, like 22 degrees, 80% humidity, I think. Gosh, I used to be better at this. 26, wow, I was way off. So that's what, 47 times 5/9? Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Man, my conversions, I'm telling you, I got to get on, what is it, Brilliant or something and start redoing my engineering stuff. It's brutal out there, water park. Stay inside, my friend. Air conditioning. That's the one thing that we're lacking is we don't get any air conditioning over here. There's a fairly common belief that air conditioning will make you sick because of the cold air. So generally it's not installed in households too often. Air conditioning and ice water. You know that ice water messes you up. Speaking of which, stay hydrated, my friends. Hydro homies unite. I see Lanier over here with the 9 months of subs on Twitch, dude. Thank you for the support. Jeez. Sticking it out, man. And I'll tell you what, if there was a year to do it, this is it. Thank you for that. Happy Twitch baby, my friend. I hope you're having a good week. Oh, you're in Miami. Okay then. I get it. I get it. As Hudson once said, it's a dry heat. Just like back when he did, it helped the situation none. Yeah, dry heats, that's what we'll be headed back to. So we spend half our year here in Turkey, half our year back in the US. And where we live in the US, it is all dry heat. So it's kind of interesting going from the super crazy humidity of here in Turkey on the coast to the dry heat of the California Valley. Good times. Frazzlecat had those temps, upper 90s and high humidity. Heat index got around 111, so oof. Thankfully today is bliss, started at 60 into the upper 80s. Oh, that's not bad. Valencia is 31C with a dew point of 23 and humidity of 61. 20 degrees over there, 75% humidity. Ah, in the UK, the land of soggy water and kind of depressing rains. I get that. Owning a Pirate Gladius is not disqualification, is it? No. No, absolutely not. If anything, we hold you in high regard. What's better than a pirate killer in a pirate ship? Huh? Ex-Nimri 07's buddy. Welcome in for the first... Well, maybe not the first time, but first time chat, it says. Glad to have you with us. Ooh, 66 degrees over there. That's not bad. That's quite nice, actually. Oh, do we have construction going on outside? Oh, I'm going to have to close the window for that. Hey, Static Pop, Pepper Hill. Good to see y'all. Yeah, let's all go to Punji's. That sounds pretty nice. Folks, before we get started here, I'd like to remind everybody we do have an ongoing giveaway for the Nomad with the starter pack. So that includes a copy of Star Citizen, comes with the Nomad ship, which is a sleeper, let me tell you. The Nomad's going to be really useful when it gets that tractor beam. Just got to wait for it, as with many things around these parts. But yeah, we've got that giveaway going. Of course, we're always doing our support giveaways here on the stream. And I'm trying to think if we have anything special coming up. Nothing too special coming up, but I do have a streamathon that we're planning out for September. Early September. If you guys are fans of that, I'll be doing probably however much Star Citizen and however much Starfield. It'll be a good time. A lot of space game stuff. So keep an eye out for that. If it's not the prayer guides, construction workers, it's always something, right? They just can't respect the stream, man. They hear that somebody's streaming nearby and they're like, let's find a way. Tried to add the special code and it came up as invalid. Not sure what's up with that. And if it's perhaps just you, let me see. That shouldn't be happening. There should be no invalid. Let me see. Let me make sure. Whoa. You mind telling me what the code is that you put in? Wow. Wait, that's weird. This doesn't make sense. Actually, you can message me the... Oh, okay. You already put it on there. Yeah, that one should work. I'm not sure why it didn't. Somebody has claimed it. Weirdly, only one person... What the... I didn't make those too hard to find in the videos, right? Is that just how few people are... I need to get better about talking about those in the videos. Oh, man. Literally one person has used the secret code so far. I'm looking at the code right now that he said. It's on this one. But only one person has used either of the secret codes. No, that's just very, very bad engagement. That's terrible engagement. Huh. It told you the code was used when you tried... Oh, wait a second. Hold on a second. Let me see if it's disqualifying... Let me make sure that it's not just only letting one person use the code. That might be... Multiple codes. There we go. Yes, sorry about that. Okay. We might have set that up. We might have set that up wrong. Can you give that a try right now and see if that works? Because there might have been an error there on the setup that only allowed one person to use the code. Go ahead and give that a go and let me know if it's working for you now. Oh yeah, there's... Oh, we didn't... No, none of this is correct. That's not good. Okay, hold on a second, guys. I gotta make an... I gotta change this real quick. Just gotta add the... Change the worth of entries and then the title of the hidden code. And then make sure entry interval is unlimited instead of single. I think it might have just changed that, but I don't know if it's saved. And that should make it... That'll make it work better. Thank you for letting me know that that didn't work. Surprisingly, nobody has mentioned that yet. But now they're up. Comes up and says, sorry, this code has already been used. Yeah, that will, that should be working now. Dark Souls of Tomato giveaways. To get the code, you need to defeat the last boss in SC. I believe that's just called stability. You just have to find the stable game, and you get the code. And then let us know how to find it too, because we would like to be involved in that. We love a stable game. All right, let me turn this on. Did I already ask y'all how your day is? I hope you're having a good day, friendos. Good friendos of the channel, Twitch and YouTube. We're going to start off here with a little calling all devs with your boy John Crew. This is our oldest video of today. We've got 3 different ones. First is our calling all devs, talking about ships. Second one will be our Invictus week of last year, question and answer. And third will be Invictus week of this year, question and answer. What this will do is give us a couple of looks at what they've said about certain ship features over the last 3 years, things like tracked beams, docking, and stuff like that. But also we're going to cover a little bit of a... There will be some overlap between features, but we'll mainly be covering a large swath of different features. Some of them we've seen, some of them we haven't. So this is the future of ship features. Thanks for coming, guys. Hey, John. Good to see you. How you doing? Still coming up the same stream stuff to get underway. We'll keep double checking it. Check back in a couple hours. Try the code again and see if it works. We'll do a little bit of a checkup on that. You never found them. Don't feel too bad. Well, the thing is, one of them is like at the end of one of my videos, I literally said, here's the secret code, guys, and I put it in large letters on the screen. Unfortunately, that's also one of our least viewed videos over the last couple months, so I'm guessing a lot of people didn't stick around to see that at the end, but that was kind of the point of putting it at the end. Little reward for people who actually watch the video. Anyways, let's get to calling all devs and see what John Crew has to tell us the good news about ship features.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Calling All Devs.
Once again, too quiet. I know.
We take questions from you, the Star Citizen community, and pose them directly to our developers. On this month's show, we are talking ship. We have collected a series of ship feature-related questions, and we're going to pose them.
Can you guys even hear him? Why do they post this stuff so quiet?
John Crew. John, how you doing?
Hey, I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Are we all right?
Yeah, negative 15 decibels. It's just too quiet in upload.
We got questions. We got time. Our first question, we've seen on ISC recently that work has begun on ship-to-ship docking, ship-to-station docking. Can you give us an update on both?
Yep, I sure can. We sort of think of them in three different ways, although the two are sort of under the same umbrella of ship-to-ship docking. So with ship-to-ship docking, there's two aspects we're looking at. So there's the direct hard attachment, which the prime example is the constellation of Merlin. And then there's ship-to-ship docking as a general, which is just any ship with a docking port connecting to another one. So first up, we're doing the Connie and Merlin hard docking. That is well underway. We've got to the point where the vehicle is attached to each other and you can get in and out. And we're now at the point of just sort of dealing with all the quirks of having two vehicles physically joined together intentionally, which has thrown up some weird physics problems that we're just working through.
How does that docking work?
Can you guys even hear it? Should I grab that equalizer add-on right now? They make it so quiet.
Does the pilot have to pilot it in? Is there some kind of AR thing they've got to follow? Is it completely automatic pilot?
It's not completely automatic. So you communicate to the target ship and they accept your request to dock, because if there was no sort of permission system, you could have anybody just randomly trying to dock with you. But once all that's all sorted out, you get a docking UI, which gives you an idea of how far off on each axis and roll you are. You line up all the symbols, you're in the right place, and then at the very last few meters, it takes over and automatically guides you in. So you have to do sort of 99% of the flying into it, and that's the very last bit where we have to ensure that you are orientated a very specific way to get. Like, you think about the Merlin, there is a baked animation sequence to get out the ship. So if you are 5 centimeters off to the left, you could end up getting out through the constellation out the other side. So we have to ensure you're a very specific position. So that's why there's automatic there.
Okay.
I'll come back to the bit of ship-to-ship docking. Ship-to-station docking is also well underway. We've got a fairly functional prototype at this point. We're just working out some of the last technical hurdles for that before we enter full production on that. So that's you taking your large ships and docking at any of the orbital stations or other places that have these large extended docking that I think you saw on IS. So that's the order of battle there, really. We're doing the Constellation Merlin docking first, then we're doing ship-to-station docking, and then at some point after that, we'll do the ship-to-ship. Purely because there's less of a need for that right now. The Constellation Merlin thing solves some tech problems for ship-to-station docking. Ship-to-station docking is needed for ships that are coming. Ship-to-ship is a sort of nice to have that we will do, but it's not as important as those other two.
Gotcha. All right.
Yeah, I don't think the docking is very stable at the moment. That's probably more to do with the servers than the actual feature, though, because the feature did work when they brought it in, but almost no ships can actually dock. I think there's probably 3 ships in the game, 2. Hammerhead, 890 Jump. Are there any other ships besides those 2 that can dock to stations? It's kind of a bummer, honestly. The ship docking, I believe it was like, hey, we're going to do it for these first 2 ships, like he was saying, and then they were going to sort of spread it out from there, but I think they just don't have the time anymore to continue building docking into the other ships, because we're getting other ships in game that have docking ports, but they're not coming in with docking capabilities. Why can't I see the roadmap? Does the Starfarer also dock? Oh, I mean docking to space stations. Why can't I see the roadmap? No, there's no other ships. Yeah, that was one of those things that they brought in because they wanted it to work for the alpha, and then once they realized it worked, they didn't touch it. I think they what is going on? Their roadmap's not loading. Is this a me thing? I think they used the docking technology to make refueling work, which is what was being referred to in chat here. But besides that, we haven't seen anything done with it. Ship to station, ship to ship. Yeah, see, these were finished for 3.13, but they didn't expand after that. Weird that it doesn't work on this browser, but it works on the other one. Why is that? Huh. All right, let's back to this. Hear what he has to say.
Let's move on to the next question then. A lot of people asking about the current status of...
Anybody mind sending me that browser equalizer add-on you were talking about? I feel like it's just too quiet. And I could turn down my own voice like this so it matches what they're doing. But then if we get a notification, that's going to blow out your ears. Or if we go to another video, which is louder, let's see.
Physical crates.
Yeah, see, their other videos are louder.
Corey.
So those, it's just going to mess us all up.
Physicalized armor, armor penetration, of course, and then updated SDF shield. So the tech features that surround vehicles. What can you tell us?
Yep, all those three things are in active production at the moment. They're not just for vehicles, especially the physical.
Sorry, I missed that one. Let me rewind here.
A lot of people asking about the current status of things like physicalized armor, armor penetration, of course, and then updated SDF shield. So the tech features that surround vehicles. What can you tell us?
Yep, all those three things are in active production at the moment. They're not just for vehicles, especially the physicalized armor and penetration. That's also going to be applicable to actors and the FPS game. So again, we've got to a point where we're working on the initial parameters and
Okay, sorry guys, I'm trying to make sure that this works.
Yep, all those three.
But it's not turning up the actual volume. I might have to. Man, I hate this. I hate that they like. There's a standard for uploading to YouTube. I don't get how you could miss it for 6 years straight.
Moment, they're not just for vehicles, especially the physicalized armor and penetration. That's also going to be applicable to actors and the FPS game. So again, we've got to a point where we're working on the initial parameters and tuning them in, making sure that.
Okay, let me just close everything real quick and then reopen. See if that works.
All those three things are in active production at the moment. They're not just for vehicles, especially the physicalized armor and penetration. That's also going to be applicable to actors and the FPS game. So again,
how is that better?
We've got to a point where we're working on the initial parameters and tuning them in, making sure they're working as we expect before we start really putting all hands on it. Chris has been involved in it. A lot of the physics guys are doing the groundwork. The vehicle and the actor teams are working together.
Awesome. Thank you, Frazzled.
We need all these parameters. Please make them. The physics guys give us a build back and go, sure, that sort of works. This bit doesn't work. We need some more tuning here. So we're definitely working on it right now. How far through that process we are, it's hard to say until we get something that works across the system.
Gotcha. Yeah, so it sounds like you're working on the prototype, the tech itself, as opposed to actively converting all the other ships. Every ship to this. Okay.
We have our internal milestones for this, so it would be foolish to work on the tech alongside converting all the ships to it, because there's just so many ships. So we want to get a very small set of ships working first with it all, get them all playing nicely against each other. Understand the tools we have to balance this now, because it moves away completely from weapon does 100 damage, ship has 1,000 health, right. 10 shots equals death. Whilst we have a lot of that all on paper doesn't necessarily translate to fun gameplay once it's all implemented. So
Mhm.
yeah, all the teams are working on the physicalized armor and the armor penetration. So penetration will be a thing. Over penetration will be a thing. SDF shields was the last thing there, I think. So in recent builds, all ships have SDFs generated for their what will be their shield bubbles. The build process is now spitting them out for us. You will have seen the atmospheric reentry effect in 310 uses that as the basis. So 310 was a sort of precursor for rolling it out on a slightly simpler problem to solve, which is atmospheric entry effects sort of reacting to whatever angle your ship is.
Right.
Shields takes that to the next level. So core tech wise, it's pretty much there. And it's really now working with the VFX team and the VFX engineering team to make the shields look good, because we can't use any of the existing shield effects work. We have to recreate that from scratch, and that brings up a lot of not tech but sort of visual gameplay. How do we make it look good at short range and far range without blinding players?
And then, of course, after you make it look good, then making it performative. Like,
Yes.
it's finding that balance between, you can make it look amazing, and like if you only had one ship to blow up, you were fine. But when it comes to giant melees of multiple ships, you need something that can scale and be performative and stuff. So a lot of work to be done there, I would imagine.
Yeah, certainly the initial stuff we've seen of the SDF shields internally looks very promising in terms of just how it looks and how it behaves, because one of the big things is when you lose a wing, the SDF adapts to losing that. You don't have this weird bubble floating out there. So it's going to be a really nice change.
And we will, of course, be showing that to the community. It's just as soon as we get closer to the more performative model.
SDF shields.
Here's
was
the
last
SDF
thing there, I think.
text if you were interested in that. Just describing what SDFs are. Assigned distance fields. They're basically just like sort of boundaries around a layer or a shape or something like you can use it for a lot of different technology. Hit registration, shield effects like this. Atmospheric reentry uses that kind of stuff. So SDFs, assigned distance fields, are pretty useful. And they've been applying them to different things. Before this, God, you guys remember when every shield in the game was just like a oval, a bubble around your ship? Okay, it's looking like the code is working again. Give a cheers. Give a big shout out to Mrs. T for getting that fixed. Thank you so much. A little oopsie, my bad, guys. But the management comes through as she does. Thank you for that. Guys, if you have found a secret code in the most recent videos of August, make sure to get those inputted for the Nomad giveaway. They'll give you a couple extra entries. I think 3 extra entries per code. All right, so SDF shields. Honestly, not a huge thing since we've already used that a lot. They're not really anything new, so let's move on to the next one.
You feel like
Part of the
Yes.
patches, but
Yep.
it's style.
it looks exactly the same as it did, but it is in fact applying one style sheet, much like web CSS. You can change the theme with it's all new, and now we have the ability to say style it by just applying one style sheet, much like web CSS. You can change the theme with a very simple change, which you can't do with Flash. You just have to.
How each ship manufacturer would have its own HUD. There'd be an
This is a good one. A lot of people are interested in this. Are different types of HUDs for different types of ships and UI. We actually have seen some examples of this. So we've seen the Drake HUDs in particular. Got a video of those. You can kind of see some of the examples they came up with. I don't think they're moving forward with any of these, but these are concepts of what they wanted to use for Drake. You can tell it's a little more angular, kind of more retro looking than something like Aegis. And then if you go to like an Aegis HUD and you see what the kind of stuff that they have planned for that, in comparison to something like this, which is rather simplified, Aegis is very much sleek and a little bit more busy. More lines, more details and stuff like that. Definitely a different look. So what he's going to talk about here is just the different ways that certain ship manufacturers will make their HUDs and how that progress is going along. So let's listen.
Aegis HUD or an Anvil HUD or something like that. We used to have some version of that, and then it kind of went away for an homogenization. Is that coming back?
Yep, that's coming back. In fact, we're actively working. I keep saying actively working, but it's true. It's true. The Aegis ships, or specifically the Gladius, for squadron reasons, is going to be getting a completely fresh HUD overall. And then I think we've also worked on an RSI styling. So all the manufacturers will be getting thematically themed HUDs for their ships, rather than it just being the same HUD recolored, and that will apply to the MFDs as well. So the core functionality of the MFDs, when they're reworked, will be the same, but they'll just have a visual styling over it to make it feel like this is a Drake MFD versus an Aegis MFD.
And this, I guess, I would imagine this is part of why the ship HUD has been being converted into building blocks in recent patches. People have seen aspects of it being converted over, and it looks like what they had before, but it's being converted so that they can be modular, so that we can plug them into the RSI style, the Aegis style, the every other manufacturer style.
Yeah, pretty much. It looks exactly the same as it did, but it is in fact all new. And now we have the ability to say style it by just applying one style sheet, much like web CSS. You can change the theme with a very simple change, which you can't do with Flash. You just have to remake the entire asset. And then you've got two things to update every time you want to add or change something.
For those who didn't know, they were using Flash, like the Adobe standard Flash, up until, I think a lot of the stuff in the game actually still uses it. But that was one of the big things that held back UI up until probably a couple of years ago, is that all their stuff was using Flash, and Flash was discontinued. So like, not the best platform to build UI on. This video is from 2020, by the way.
So this new Aegis style, is it going to be different than we've seen before?
It's going to be very different to what's in game and what people have seen.
Cool. Well, we'll hang tight until we can show folks what it looks like. Another big popular question when it comes to vehicles or vehicle tech that folks have been waiting for: the ability to spawn smaller vehicles inside larger vehicles, whether that's the Pisces inside the Carrick, or a rover, Ursa rover inside a Constellation. We've been on a good trail so far. All these things in active development. Is this in active development?
It's sort of semi-active. We did some internal tests. We got it working. It's important to differentiate some of those things from like Connie and Merlin docking. That's almost like an entirely different thing.
Right.
Anything that is always going to be in a repeatable position every time you spawn the ship or customize the ship, like the Merlin and the Connie, will work. Things where you can change it out between multiple ships, we're looking at this. Ultimately, it still creates item ports that ships are attached to, but it does them dynamically. And for various technical reasons, we're sort of waiting for iCache to be more complete on it. Certain other areas, and then we'll pick that up. Because if we try and shoehorn it in now, it'll just be throwaway code that iCache does out the box for it.
That makes sense. That makes sense. We've run into that situation in a number of features. So all right. So that one's not in active development like the other things, just waiting on other dependencies.
Yes.
All right, so lastly, our last ship feature-related question has to do with the Hull C. We know that work was paused on it some time ago because it was waiting for other ship-related tech like the expandable, collapsible physics grids.
This should be interesting. I think he's probably going to say something here about why they can't put it in, and I'm wondering if he's going to say anything about the economy, because that would be telling, seeing the ship coming in with 3.20. With at least no obvious changes towards supply and demand and economy right now. Maybe they still have something up their sleeve, though. Hey, Reese, thank you for the sub, dude. Toes Gang representing out here. I hope you're having a good one, man. Hope it's not too hot out there in freaking NorCal right now. Oy. I guess in your area, it's probably a little bit better than up near Sacramento. You think it'd be better if ships and vehicles were delivered somewhat like No Man's Sky when you're out in the verse? Instead of in our ships, like they are. What do you mean by that? I don't know how that works in No Man's Sky.
Look at the ship-to-station docking, and I see similarities there. Are we getting closer to making this thing a reality?
We are. like I say, the ship to station docking required animatable and multiple physics grids, which is what the Hull C requires. So we now have those. So that's one thing ticked off the list of Hull C dependencies. We still have a few more that we need to solve before we can release the ship, but we are able to actually progress internally now a bit more with it. Okay. So we need the ability for rooms to scale like physics areas, because now you can have gravity in that central spine, but there'll be no air. So it's sort of equally as problematic for release.
Okay.
And that also helped all the level designers and the vehicle designers, because we want to unify the way all the rooms and shapes are made in the engine. At the moment, they're all sort of individual shapes. So design has to go in and mark up a room for the air. An audio design has to go in and mark up a room for the audio volume. Art have to go in and mark up a room for vis areas and portals to stop light coming in. So you want to all put them into one single feature that can support scaling, and then bam, that's the whole C part solved. The two other bits needed are a way to nicely trigger state machines on vehicles. So we sort of fudge it together at the moment by tying state changes into landing gear deployments. We need to split that out. That's scheduled for one of the vehicle teams. And then the last one is really the cargo system. It obviously carries thousands of units of cargo, and we only supply cargo in one SEU boxes at the moment. And that system needs to support not doing that. It needs to go, like, you've bought 4,000 units of Laranite, and here's 100 big boxes of it, or because it will just cripple server performance. We've seen what happens when people go wild with Picos. This would be a whole lot worse than that.
And it's one of those things where the upcoming cargo decks in 3.11, while not the functionality it's in 3.11, but the cargo decks themselves are a platform for additional features, and where those will tie into being able to offload things like the Hull C and maybe even load them up to begin with.
Yeah, they're the perfectly designed places for that, because you don't want to take your Hull C. Well, you can't land with the cargo out, so there's very little point taking it down to the surface to land, but you will need to drop these off at orbital stations.
Right. So a lot of good progress being made. It's exciting to hear. It's exciting to hear about things like the physicalized armor and the armor penetration and the SDF shields.
Yeah, honestly, listening to what he had to say about the technology that they needed for the Hull C, we did see them like systemically take care of each of those problems over the last couple of years. It took a while, and I think the last hurdle was these boxes, the box sizes with the 32 SCU, but they did handle all those problems, and it's coming into the game. He didn't say anything about economy or anything, so I guess that wasn't necessarily a blocker, at least at this time. Not a blocker they felt like was in front of the Hull C. Therefore, maybe it's a little bit much to assume that the economy was blocking the Hull C. Maybe not hold that against them. Although they could have said that at another time. This is just 2020. In one of these other videos we're about to watch, maybe we'll have something a little more up to date on that. Abdi and Radical Jams, how you doing? Welcome to the chat, my friends.
And two different versions of ship docking, all in active development. We hear so often about dependencies, and this has to wait for this, but to know that these things are actually in active motion now. The HUD styling for Aegis, another big thing. It's another big part of making these ships feel different and unique and bespoke. Lots of exciting stuff. We blazed through this. We got a little time left in what we're allowed, so I'm gonna veer a little bit. Point one of my own in there. It's not a ship feature related thing, but it's a ship thing.
Be right back, guys.
My dad, when he pledged for Star Citizen, the first ship that brought him in was the Redeemer. I mean, that was his first pledge. It brought him into Star Citizen. We've talked about how it was going to be reconcepted, re-envisioned, for a couple of reasons. It's been quiet. Has there been any movement on this?
Yeah, so we talked about this a while back about moving it into a sort of a full gunship role, and that has happened. We had a little hollow view of it at the Fleet Week, Invictus Launch Week event. So if you eagle-eyed, you will have spotted the Redeemer was there in the Holly viewer, and it wasn't quite looking the same as it does in the hangars, or it does in the original concept. So we have done some work on it, and I can maybe share a few pictures of it.
Yay, pictures. Does anybody use the Redeemer?
Okay.
I actually really wanted to start, like when the Redeemer was first coming out, I really wanted to use it for claim jumper missions because I felt like the Hammerhead was a little bit too big. Like, if you have 5 people on turrets, it's hard to get everybody in on the action. But if you have a Redeemer with, I think it's got 2-man turrets, maybe 3-man turrets, everybody's going to have a lot of fun doing that. So I really wanted to start using the Redeemer for missions like that, but I just, oh my gosh, like even just trying to feel like if you get all the people together, that's one step. Get all the people into the same place, that's another step. Get the game to work correctly, that's another step. Be able to get claim jumper missions is another step, and then actually get there and do them without any problems. It's just, and I think this is why a lot of people actually aren't really playing Star Citizen that much right now. There are so many steps to do the gameplay when you're fighting against like the normal stuff you'd fight against, but also the game. And like you guys saw in the stream, what was that, Saturday with the mining stuff, and then the stream on Wednesday when we were trying to do, I think, more mining stuff. It's just a little bit difficult to get group gameplay going right now. And I think the Redeemer is going to be something that I use a lot more once that whole system gets a little more easy. You don't like the Hammerhead, you got it as a loner. Never take it out. Why don't you like it? Too big? 2-man turrets, okay. Why you can't wait for NPC crews and AI blades? AI blades will be good. That'll be big. Imagine something like a Hurricane or a Scorpius when you have AI blades. Won't be as good as having a player manning the guns, but still better than flying by yourself. You don't like the ladder you have to take to get to the upper ship, and there are a lot of ships like that, right? The Raft, the Vulture, the Mole, the Prowler, the Redeemer, the Valkyrie. Like, there's a hefty amount of relatively small ships where you have to use a ladder to get to the other side of the ship. Luckily, the ladders work. Luckily, we're not using Creation Engine for this. Blades just shoot, right? We actually don't really know much about blades. Come to think of it, there was a... Let me look this up real quick. There was a dev interview. Gosh, when was that? I was going to the gym in Turkey. It was a specific gym. It must have been fall of 2021, I think. I want to say. And they talked actually quite a bit about AI blades and the details going into them. But I don't remember. Hold on a second. I got to go check on the dog. You guys listen to this. Have fun. Be right back.
I can't quite remember off the top of my head the sizings of these. But the exterior of the Redeemer has pretty much been entirely reworked, but keeping it in the same style as it was. We were on the fence about, do we just move it to a different manufacturer because it looks so different to Aegis. But in the end, we decided to keep it Aegis. We'll keep the Nutcracker wings, but we'll just do a little massaging of all the shapes here to bring it more into the Aegis style. So the nose has changed, the turret design has changed, the tail has changed. It's not quite as rounded as it was. There's some harsher Aegis lines in there. Still got the wheels on the bottom. We toyed around with skids, but we'll keep it to the original concept. You can see here there's a lot more Aegis shapes. Right. I'm trying to do my best Paul Jones impersonation. I think the tail's slightly changed as well. So it has a manned turret on the top, manned turret on the bottom that are entirely accessible from within the ship. You don't need to go on a little ghost train ride out into outer space to get to the turrets anymore.
First thing I see when I get back, that ship is so ugly.
And so not a drastic re-envisioning.
No, it's still the Redeemer that people, you would still look at this and go, this is the Redeemer. It's not a complete reimagining of it. So we tried to keep it faithful to the original concept, but just bring it up to modern standards. I don't have any of the interiors here to show, but that's had much more of a upgrade from what was there. There's the drop seats are gone. They're being replaced with space to sort of walk around the ship. If people have got into the one in the hangar still, they'll
Systems
know
work.
it's quite compact to move around in there. So we've enlarged it. Got access to components. You've got access to all the turrets. You can freely move around without it being cavernous. But yeah, you can see there's a lot of turrets. There's 2 at the front. One of those is pilot controlled. There's the manned one.
All right, I'm gonna skip this because we're interested in features, not ships. I'm actually gonna do a little audible here. Let's check out what? What did I just? What? Didn't I just have that? What just happened to the thing I was using? Hold on, I just had this up. Okay, here we go. Let me try copying that URL again. That's really weird that it sent us there. And it doesn't give me the right time. Look at that. 3:43. Thank you for letting me know where this was. Let's listen to what they did have to say about AI blades, because that's a big one that a lot of people don't know about. I always forget about it even.
How the current systems
Oh
work.
my god.
Okay. Next question. Any movement
Sorry, guys.
on AI blades for turrets?
Indirectly, yes. So something we're planning out at the moment is a lot of the precursor work. So anyone that was around before item 2.0 will have been familiar with like avionics motherboard items. So we're doing the sort of the planning for the revamp of those to go in the ships, and obviously a big part of that is all the blades you put in. So we obviously need to get the base computer item in first, and then we can work on the blades. But that's all being planned out in the very near future.
Wonder what very near was. But what he's saying there is important. There's like a whole computer component our ships are supposed to have that we haven't even touched on yet. You have your shield generator, gravity, power plant, whatever weapons there might be. All of those are different components on the ship. There's supposed to be a component specifically called your computer. You can actually find it in a lot of ship cockpits, like the Carrick. It's all over the back of the ship cockpit. I think it says avionics on it or something like that. And I think the AI blades would then be the subcomponents of the component being the computer.
Right, and just for folks who maybe have joined the project since the last time we mentioned AI blades, they are components that go into the vehicles that will allow you to automate the actions of the manned turrets.
Yeah, so the vehicles will all have computers, the small ones, medium ones. They each have a varying amount of blade slots in there, and you can put all these different sort of blades in. Sort of the most popular one will be the I want to slave a manned or remote turret to the pilot seat, and that would take up like one of the blade slots or more, perhaps.
Right. Let's see. You knew this was coming. You can't get through a vehicle question without something about the merchantman. What can you tell us about?
So this is not the one that you were talking about. Why can't I find that one? 2020. Do they not ever actually say AI blades? Am I mistaken? Let's see. This would have been, yeah, QA with, nah, for some reason that's not coming up for me. That's weird. Let me see if I can find it manually. Back to 2020 we go, folks. Oh, it's a text Q&A. Okay, that's why. That's weird. There was definitely a video with a lot of discussion around blades that I listened to, and no, yeah, it must have been 2020 because that was like around pandemic time. Could it have been this one? Strange that this doesn't show up on Starchives. No, it doesn't show up on Starchives. I guess they didn't actually say AI blades at that point, which is kind of strange. AI and you. Could that be it? Who is this with?
AI NPC.
Okay, let me see if this is it. Hold on. I don't think this is it. I do remember it being just one person talking about it, like Pappy or somebody. Let's see what they say here.
AI NPC crew and AI server blades for spacecraft, because they are two very different things. And I think sometimes a lot of people use the term AI interchangeably to mean both. So let's start off with the differential there.
I'll take that one.
Okay.
No one else wants to jump on it.
It's all you, Dan.
No, they're both AI. They are definitely both AI, especially from our perspective. They are going to be running the same behavior. How an AI needs to aim a gun to shoot down a ship is exactly the same way a human is going to aim that same gun to shoot a ship. The same behavior is going to run through all of this. Now, gameplay-wise, there are differences. A blade is a subcomponent on a ship. You will plug it in and suddenly assign a turret to use that blade, and the turret knows how to do it. There are disadvantages here. First of all, the blades are going to be worse than NPCs. We have this grading of the player. If you take an average player, it's going to be better than an average NPC, and it's going to be better than an average blade. Yeah, so pretty much we automatically is not that good at the job. The turret blades are actually going to occupy a blade slot, which means you can't equip another blade for other functionality you might want on the ship. So that is a valuable slot that you're losing just to have one turret start shooting without an NPC there. Basically, you're a cheap bastard. You don't want to pay someone to take that slot, whether it's a player or an NPC.
Nah, I just don't trust people.
Just pay the money and hire someone and get them to shoot. You can pay for a blade that is a cheap alternative. Don't do that. I mean, do it if you can't afford anything.
See, if I get angry at an AI blade for not doing its job, I can just take it outside and shoot it with a gun in anger. Probably not the most healthy reaction, but it's a video game, all right? Let me live it out. But if there's like a player and they don't do their job, what am I supposed to do? Be disgruntled? Be passive-aggressively disgruntled with them? Next time I'll just have to pay you a little bit less and send you on their way.
And then the ship is going to have only enough blades to run a part of the turrets. So let's say you have a ship like, I don't know, the Hammerhead. You won't be able to have enough blade slots to make all the turrets functional. So there's that downside. So this is mainly where the difference runs. AI-wise, I guess if some of the programmers want to chip into this with how the behavior for this works, maybe they can clear some stuff up.
Yeah, behaviors are just the same behavior that an NPC we run, but maybe most importantly, the behavior will be the same, the activity will be the same, and maybe how you characterize the blade will go through traits, skills. Yeah. So sort of editing your the skills, the capacities of this gunner in this case.
I think, as Dan said, is like not all the seats can be replaced, right? So there would be the crew members that they would be purely NPCs, and I think the critical part here, I guess, is to like basically the same way we let designer in specific environment to ask NPCs to do things, right? This is how. Under the hood is the same way as when the player will give them commands, right? If you ask an NPC, say, go and be the turret guy, right? What will happen is the same as when a designer set up like a mission and he has an NPC sitting on a turret, on a turret seat. If you ask a guy, you say like, you know what? I want you to fix that panel, right? You can do it. And it's the same way as when a designer asks, an NPC to go and repair exactly that panel. So the way we build the behaviors and, especially like all this crew management, the part of the crew, the guys in the crew, it's made in a way in which they can perform by themselves as best as they can their jobs based on the skill, based on the traits, right? So imagine like you have somebody who likes to, like just procrastinate. You will have your engineer that goes around and just sometimes you find this smoking spot, or I don't know, like some resting areas, and he just hides there and not doing his job. But you might have his supervisor that goes around and sends tasks to people, right? And then goes and tries to supervise them. We have the same on the bridge crew, right? The captain can go around and supervise the NPCs and see if they're doing a good job or not, and maybe just tell them something. And the same for the player will be basically, right? And then they can assign them. And also I think there's more gameplay. Say you can find who's best at doing specific job based on the one you hire, right? You might hire somebody really good on shield management, but he kind of sucks at shooting through a turret. And if maybe you need both, but you don't have enough money, you hire one guy, and then you live with whatever it's most of your needs. But the good thing is that these skills and levels just carry through the game. So it's kind of cool that you see the guy maybe getting better at some of those. Some of those will allow you to train. Some others will just be your character traits. If somebody's coward, and you just put him on try to defend you, is gonna just be a coward pilot, right? So it might just give up defending you if things are bad.
Dude, I'm not a coward. I'm just cautious.
Skilled, cost much more money. So it is gonna create this extra, layer of gameplay as well.
Yeah, AI crew and AI blades are an interesting topic. I mean, this is it sounds speculative when they talk about it. It would have been nice when we saw that AI catch up on Star Citizen Live earlier this year. They showed a bunch of different AI functionalities. Would have been fantastic to see a demo of an NPC moving around a ship, or even an AI blade working a turret. But, despite these talks happening, when was this? In 2020. A lot of talk about AI in 2020, it seems.
Love in the future.
We just haven't seen it yet. We haven't seen anything about it yet. All right, let's jump into this talk. This is a very, very good talk. I'm actually going to drop the link for this one in chat for anybody. I think this is one of the most informative chats we've ever had when it comes to ship features. That's mainly because it talks a lot about VTOL, and I think that's an incredibly important thing that just is constantly looked over when it comes to this game. Something that's going to change the way we fly a lot in atmosphere later. Well, at least I think it might. But let's jump into this talk once again with John Crew. We've also got Richard Towler here. They both have a lot of authority over what happens with ships. And they've got a lot of great answers here, starting with physicalized armor. So let's listen to it. I think it's starting to rain. It's too hot to rain. Stop it.
Without fail. What is the current status of physicalized armor and damage and components?
Cool. So they always get lumped together in one thing, but they are somewhat independent systems. So physicalized damage, that is still being worked on. Physics guys are still working on it. They've got
keep in mind, you guys saw our first conversation with John Crew was in 2020. This one is 2 years later in 2022. So he did talk about physicalized damage being worked on soon at that point. So this answer, you get a little bit more context here with this answer. As soon as we're now 2 years later, let's see what he has to say about where they are with it.
Somewhat independent systems. So physicalized damage, that is still being worked on. Physics guys are still working on it. They've got a few more test cases, found a few more issues. They are looking at some smaller scale problems to solve, rather than going full ham straight on a spaceship, they're trying to solve a lot of these questions on smaller environmental assets, because if you can solve it on that, it's much easier to then scale it up for a spaceship. So they're still working on that. The VFX team are quite heavily involved in doing a lot of tests, like simulations, for the whole breakability side of it, rather than just nice clean breaks, but having a bit of crumpling. I know I said VFX. People think it's just particle. It's not. They do a lot more than just particle work. There's a lot of mesh simulation that has knowledge within that team. So deformation and twisting and bending of assets, that's with those guys. Physicalized armor is like a byproduct of the damage system, so that will come with that. Physical components is sort of independent to that, because we can do physicalized components without the physical damage side. So we are looking in the very near future to start going through some of our ships and putting those components in the right places. Like if you look at our newer ships, say multi-crew ones with interiors, Star Runner, Star Lifter, you will have seen all the hatches and you open them up, the components are actually there. So for new ships, that's built in. We're looking at going back to the older ships and updating those. It's obviously a lot of work there. So it's a balancing act between updating the older ones and delivering newer ones. But we are putting more of a focus onto going back to those older ships and updating them, because we do.
When's the last time we got an updated ship? Like, when's the last time they took a ship in the PU and brought it up to a new standard? I think currently they're doing that with the Freelancer. But besides the Gladius and the Saber, I think last year, I don't even think they finished the Saber update, for us at least. I think it went into Squadron 42, but have we been seeing any other ships get updated over the last year or so? Because I don't... Did they update the Cuddy Black? Do we have component slots in the Cuddy Black now? They reworked the Mustang. You're not talking about the original... No, they just recently redid the Mustang to bring it up to standard? Okay, that's good. Mustang would be a good one. Freelancer is in current work. But I think, yeah, a lot of like the standard ships, the Cuddy Black, the Freelancer, and like other general use multi-crew ships like that would be really good to get up to date. I mean, that you want the most amount of players to be able to use these new features that are coming in. Whatever happened to Squadron 42? It's still not available in the store. I have no idea. I am just as in the dark as y'all. I don't know what they're doing this year, really. I'm dependent on the news that they put out publicly, and for this year, that's mostly been centered around monthly reports. They're not doing gold standard passes right now. It's more like quick hacks to make the ships more usable. Yeah, which I would love to see more widely done, or at least shown in the progress tracker and the release view, so we know which ships are getting updated right now. Old Pisces got an update with the C8 Rescue. Same with the Cutlasses, but that's just door buttons. I see. I don't remember seeing any Cutlass component hatches. Not sure if they've done that. Mustang got the drop-down cargo compartment. Okay. Yeah, and I think the Aurora's cargo compartment started working too. Am I in the 25,000 PTU wave? No, not even close. I feel like there can't be that many people that have spent that much money. That'd be wild. Or I guess I'm in that wave. I think I'm still wave 1, but it's not because of spending $25,000. The only single ship in the last 2 years that was announced for a gold pass was the Retaliator. Right, they wanted to do modularity with that ship. That hasn't really been talked about that much. Yeah, I'm glad that the Mustang and Aurora got their cargo capabilities. That's necessary for the starter ships.
You need those ships to have the items in the right place, to have the resource network, which is the thing we've shown in the past with all the nodes and the links, and I'm sure we'll see more of that in the coming months on ISC as that progresses. But yeah, that side is in progress. That's going to be a slow burn for many, many months. And you might see in coming patches ship interiors changing a little, but not see any like gameplay side of that. That's all the prep work coming for that.
Yeah, it's worth noting, not to bury the lead there, that dependencies are at the core of all of these things. We're here with the vehicle content and feature team, the design team stuff, but most of that question is mostly work for other gameplay teams, other design teams, other effects teams, and stuff that then need to get integrated into the vehicles and stuff like this. And you are right, we will see more of the resource management stuff in Q3. All
right, let's go to tractor beams.
Because I can see you talking, but then I can see you talking on John's screen behind you. It's like there's a big rich.
Yeah, we could see Jared right here, and then we can see him right here. If only we could see Richard's screen over here too, then we could see Jared 3 times in this podcast.
A little Rich right behind you. It's very distracting. Any recent work done on ship and vehicle tractor beams?
Yep. So we have a few ships in the pipeline that make use of them. The work done for the handheld tractor beam is probably 70% copy and paste into the vehicle ones. There's obviously some number twiddling behind the scenes in terms of the force and mass, and the VFX team want to upgrade the visuals of it, because obviously it's a very thin, spindly FPS one versus one that you would find on a larger ship. And it sort of works out the box in the use cases we have. It is of limited use.
This is the tool he's talking about. This is a bigger one that we're going to get at some point.
Physical crates to load and unload. So that's why you don't really see it. And there is some UX that we want to improve, because on the FPS one, you have all your information on the back of the multi-tool. Tells you your force limits, everything. That is all getting transplanted to the remote view on the turrets, or if you're in a manned turret, having it on the turret HUD planes. Because whilst right now I could jump in game and use a tractor beam turret on certain ships, I have to know what all the buttons do and all the limitations, because it's not being presented to me, so it's not ready for player release. And then towards the end of the year, we're going to be doing some work, because at the moment vehicles are just simply hard-coded to not work with it, because there are some quite interesting technical problems to do with IFCS and tractor beams. IFCS is basically built on the assumption that one person is controlling the flight of the vehicle, and that becomes not true when people are grabbing it with a tractor beam. So we've got we know what we want to do with it. We just need to do that, because that's what everybody wants to do with tractor beams.
No argument from me. Let's see. What's going on with the overall balance pass that was started last year? I thought we were going to see more work done on that in 3.17.
So the tractor beam bit is interesting. That was about a year ago, and we've seen this. Now, people lost their mind at this, forgetting that this isn't real. But there is something to be said about how tractor beams will affect vehicles. What he was saying there, you might not be able to stop a ship from flying away from the tractor beam, but if you look at how tractor beams work, that's not a good example. If you look at how tractor beams work, check this out. So on the HUD, you can see that there is a force meter. I think this is a distance meter, and kind of just like your modes. And when you pick something up, it explains how much force you're applying to that thing. So it's not like tractor beams are going to work as you can either move something or you can't, right? They're going to be collaborative. They're going to be complementary. If you find a ship and you want to keep that ship from moving, obviously you're not going to be able to do it with a single thing like this. They came out and said, this is a joke. You're just having fun. This isn't how it's going to work. But if you had 4 of these and they all were applying, how much did it say on there? And they were all applying 200 to 400 to 2,000 to 8,000 newtons of force, however much it takes, you should technically be able to slow down a ship, right? That's how immersive features work. You can add on and use them in ways that they might not have been meant to use. So it sounds like one of the big things they're trying to figure out isn't necessarily how we can move a vehicle with a tractor beam, but how multiple tractor beams might be able to affect vehicle movement. So I think I don't think they really said too much about that since then. We could always see in this one if there was anything, but I don't think there was. C1, just the C1 Spirits tractor beam. But we also had that tractor beam episode of ISC earlier, which is where that footage came from, and we'll probably hear more about this by the time we reach CitizenCon. Disappointed the new cutter has 4 SCU, but lousy storage for loot moving. Yeah, it's a smaller ship when it comes to cargo. Tractor grabbing ship is funny since we heard temp solution to the 32 SCU is the multi-tool will work on them. Yes. Yeah, so that was one of the things that they mentioned in the earlier episode. Until we get this new FPS tool, until we see this in game, and it's able to lift however many more newtons of force than the multi-tool, this multi-tool will be able to make up for that, and it's going to be overpowered until we get that new tool. Imagine how ridiculous it would be to start throwing auroras at people. I'm just surprised people thought that that was going to be an actual thing. I mean, I get grabbing a ship and slowing it down, but like throwing it around like that would be insane. What's up, Drazen?
But it hasn't seen any significant progress since.
Yeah, that's a fair comment. So we
all right, let's listen to what they have to say about ship stealth. It's kind of a weird one because it's always been in game, but it's never actually. It's like not in game. You can use stealth, but the systems make it hard to know if you're using stealth, know if it's effective, know how it works. See what they have to say about it.
Will ship and vehicle stealth see some love in the future?
Yes. So we've already kind of sneaked in a couple of changes with a couple of the stealth ships we have in the game right now, which lowers their signals a little bit. But we do have a plan to kind of make stealth and basically the entire radar, system kind of matter in terms of those ships. But again, we're kind of in this point where our focus is the combat speeds, but also the reason why that's holding things back in terms of stealth is because once we get to these new features, it requires a complete rebalance of all the items in the game, and it's the items that define the stealth aspect. So we kind of need to get to this point first, and then once we get to that point, we can start looking at what makes stealth ships, and how do we bring the signals of those ships down with and then what downsides do those components have without really taking away from the purpose of those ships. But yeah, we've got to get to that point first, and then we can start balancing the game towards those things.
Oh yeah, don't expect much from stealth. I think it's going to be something we see more after engineering and resource network get components to actually be balanced. Let's see. Spawning snub ships, shield types. Advantage of multi-crew ships over single fire. That's an interesting one.
Decisions. What will be the value in picking a multi-crew ship over multiple single fighters?
Yeah, you're pretty much right that this comes again down to the speeds. So with the unlimited speeds, obviously with a turret, you're limited by the speeds of the turrets. But once we slow everything down, does the basic speed of the ship and the speed of the turret will become a much more determining factor in that combat success of that ship. And also we're still figuring out the strength of these turrets as well. We're still not, we haven't really, the game isn't final. We're still working on this, and as I said before, we're still in a situation where some ships that do have a turret are much more powerful than others, and we're still working out what that means. Is it the turret speed? Is it the weapons you attach to those turrets? And stuff like is it just a ship it's on?
Yeah, the changes we did a few patches ago to introduce capacitors did do quite a marked shift away from this whole let me bring two ships instead of one with a multi-crew. If you go look at the analytics, which are not the be-all and end-all of balance decisions, they're just part of what informs changes. Those ships that have turrets went from being well below the fighters in all the applicable metrics to being at the top end. So even now in combat, they are becoming more strong, and in the future, and to a lesser extent, the simple cost and maintenance of running multiple ships will be a factor that people have to pay attention to. It's going to be much more time and fuel and insurance and cost efficient to all pile into one ship to get to places. And we want to, especially with things like Pyro coming online, getting those smaller ships to one location is going to be quite a chore.
It already is.
You all pile into one with a larger quantum drive.
It already is a chore to get multiple ships to a location. Honestly, when like, if I'm not specifically going to do something in game, I so much rather just ride passenger on somebody else's ship than fly my own. And when that becomes a thing, when you need to fly in somebody else's ship than your own, like if they take you to Pyro, you're gonna have to rely on multi-crew ships to get back, right? So I feel like they're already headed in that direction. With engineering, obviously, it'll get even more powerful. And as capital ships come online, the Polaris looking like it'll be the first one to really start that push. We'll probably see them start to focus a lot more on making sure that multi-crew ships are more exciting and easy to use than a bunch of different small ships.
You could do the jumps quicker, that can get there quicker. That sort of time sink aspect of it will become more important, which is perhaps less clear in the current game, where everyone, even though quantuming from like, if one of you spawns at Microtech and one of you spawns at Hurston, that's a good chunk of time to meet up. That's only going to get longer in the future. So being in a single place, in a single ship, will just get that experience happening quicker for you.
I imagine changes to physicalized damage, the resource management system, and everything will also go a long way towards making multi-crew ships more viable.
Yes. Yeah, because at the moment, if you're in a turret gun and like, oh, I'm not doing anything for all the time, I'm not in combat, whereas there will be things to do outside of combat for those additional crew members. So it's, I get the aspect of, well, if we're both in two single seaters, we're both doing something all the time right now. That's true now. That's going to be true in the future in a multi-crew ship.
Yeah. It can be frustrating to run a live environment in the middle of game development. It's the combat and vehicle experience in Star Citizen today is not what the combat and vehicle experience of Star Citizen will be tomorrow. And it's, I mean, there's still valuable testing and stuff. There's still reason to have the live environment. I mean, the testing and the input that we get from the backers has proven itself out over the last 10 years, more times than we need to discuss right now. But it can still be frustrating for players and for developers alike to be there and to know that this experience that there is today is not the experience that it will be tomorrow, both for good and for bad. Some things are easier today and they will get more difficult tomorrow, but things that are difficult today, like making a multi-crew ship seem viable, will become easier in the future. So it's I don't know, I put my fan hat on for a second. I feel that frustration sometimes. So
yeah, and we were talking before this, and that we're thinking about how we were going to answer some of the questions, and we realised that the answers that we've got here, these changes we've alluded to, we haven't actually talked about externally, even though we've been working on them for 6 to 9 months. We're like, oh, so we need to. Like, in our heads, we know where it is now internally, which is a vastly different experience to the current live build. So it's this big time delay that we have to wrap our heads around.
Because many of the
that kind of answer is what makes me a little bit yeah. Listen to that saxophone. I haven't heard that saxophone in weeks. Thank you, Razy, for the gifted subs over on Twitch, going a far way, pushing us towards our goal for the day. Appreciate you, dude. I hope you've been enjoying the stream. Those types of answers, yeah, those answers where they're like, yeah, we've been working on this for like 9 months, but we haven't said anything externally, and then they're actively saying something externally. Those are the kinds of things that make me a little bit frustrated with years like this year, where we know without a doubt that there are game systems and ship systems and things that they've been working on that they updated us on that they have gone quiet on. And I know. They're getting ready for CitizenCon. But like, it's August, I think there were some good opportunities earlier this year to update us on some of the stuff that showed up, let's say, in Chris's letter from the chairman in December that we haven't gotten to see. And maybe we'll see at CitizenCon. Maybe we won't. But sometimes people will be like, oh, well, they probably don't have anything to say. They've always got stuff to say. It's just a matter of getting the right devs in front of the camera. And I know that's a challenge, so I'm not going to blame them for that. But Spectrum posts work, you know? Little tidbits, answering some questions and stuff is nice. And I'm not the kind of person to go on Spectrum and scream about that. That's, honestly, it comes more from the wanting to make content about this stuff side than the wanting to just know for the sake of knowing. But I think there are some things that would be nice to hear about every once in a while that we haven't. Like hacking, for instance, was dropped a couple of years ago, really. Theaters of War. Isn't there usually a letter from the chairman in the summer too? It depends on what's going on. I think they usually save those letters for significant moments or times when they know they need to give an update. At the end of December, they definitely needed to give an update. Obviously to let us know about December, but also PES. I think last May was also something that they waited until PES was working to release. And I'm wondering if they're waiting for, there's also funding goals is when they used to come out. But I'm wondering if they're waiting for server meshing to be working stably for another letter. I'm not sure. But the last letter really did set a lot of expectations for this year that haven't panned out too much, which is unfortunate, but I guess also a little bit expected at this point. There's still plenty of months left in the year. 4. So that stuff might still happen. What about scanning? Yeah, scanning's a big one too. But they did update us on scanning late last year. So that was nice. We got some FPS scanning updates. I would like to hear more about AR markers and sort of storing data, but I don't even think they're working on that yet. Jared mentioned hacking a couple months ago. Apparently someone had a great idea and it changed everything. Yeah. But that's the same. I mean, I think we just went over that on, that must have been Thursday or Tuesday of last week. So they've mentioned that a couple times. Yeah, we were doing hacking. We changed it up because somebody had a better idea, and this is how it was. And they told us how it was going to go, inserting scripts or little pieces of code inside of the code that's running whatever you're hacking to make it do something different than it's supposed to be doing, which is cool. But besides telling us that idea, we haven't really known much about it. And if you go to the progress tracker, which, you know what we say about the progress tracker, you got to be careful. But if you do go to the progress tracker and look up hacking, you'll see that the work was pretty long. I think it was like over 100 weeks of work on that. Oh yeah, that's right. I can't access the roadmap for some reason. Their website is having some struggles today. Only on this browser instance. My other browser instance works perfectly fine. Let's see what it said about hacking. Yeah, hacking T0, which I imagine is going to come at the same time as like the Legionnaire. Had 127 weeks of work starting in Q1 of 2021, extending all the way into Q2 of 2023. This work was obviously not finished. So I'm guessing there's more going on, but like you would think that maybe we would have an update now, since before it was all speculative, right? It was all words and explanations. And if you go and you look back at what they were showing us at that time, they actually were giving us visuals. So they were showing us kind of what the hacking items would look like, how these displays might function, how these hacking cards might look, a lot of concepts, a lot of previs stuff. Generally, I think it was pretty telling. It felt like they were getting close to wanting to dive deeper into hacking. They even gave us this little previs look at what the hacking UI would look like. But then they changed the idea of hacking, and they explained to us what the new idea was, but we never got any of this kind of stuff. So I don't know why that is, but those are the sorts of things that keep me up at night. Nah, I mean,
flight changes and everything are now currently going into Squadron before they make their way to Precision Universe. So, yeah.
All right. Now, let's talk about escape pods, and then we're going to get to VTOL flight, hover mode. Folks, if you didn't know, hover mode's coming back. It's just going to be a little bit different. If you heard about control surfaces, that's sort of how hover modes being implemented. I made a video on this. I got to release it at some point. It's available to supporters, but really, Star Citizen's flight is going to change enough to the point where I think people will leave the game because of it. And what we're going to talk about here in a little bit after escape pods is going to be a big part of that. What's the oldest concept ship that has had zero work on it as we know of? Probably the Endeavor, I would think. Can't think of any. You'd have to go and look at the funding milestones, because they announced ships as milestones. The Orion has had work on it. I think the Orion it both had some like previs work done, and it also got resized because they reconcepted it. No more murder hobos hovering over ground targets. Oh, they'll still hover. They just might hurt their ships. The Starliner could be one. Yeah, good call. Crucible, I believe, got reconcepted as well, but I might be wrong about that. All right, escape pods.
Something this person has always found confusing is escape pods. How are they going to be launched from ships? Even on newer ones at gold standard, they don't all seem to have an actual exit point from the hull, and some are quite far away from where the crew would actually be.
I hope all the newer ones have a marked escape point. A few of them are quite hidden, like they are very subtle, like POM line cutouts of where the panel is going to pop off, and they might not always go the way you think they are. Like just because they're on the upper floor of a ship, they might not be coming out the top. They might be all coming out the bottom just because of the way we've routed stuff inside. But they all do have a intended way.
Dude, that is an insane.
Ship.
That is a crazy requirement for making your spaceship. I mean, I understand if you're making a real spaceship, you have to do that. But imagine designing a virtual spaceship. You get everything done. All is finished. Then you're like, wait, how the heck do they get out? If it explodes, like, let's make the escape pod go this way. Oh, crap, it goes straight through the shield component. That is a hefty requirement for something like this compared to some other games or fiction where you don't really have to think about that.
Sometimes some of our like suit lockers might look like escape pods, which might be confusing to people because they're the big vertical standing things. But it's usually the vertical standing escape pods side like escape rafts, like you see in the 890 in Idris, where it's a hexagonal box that's the back on the Argo MPV, goes out the side, or might be ejection beds like you see on the raft of Freelancer. But in terms of, hey, how do I get to them? Because my ship just explodes right now. Again, this is tied to physical damage, so I wouldn't expect escape pods to become a thing until that comes online, because until that point, we do have the whole, hey, my ship has 10,000 health, it gets to 0, it goes bang. We don't have that finesse where we get to a point that, well, with physical damage, there isn't a health pool. So it's basically degrading your ship to the point it becomes non-functional, at which point then you go, hey, it's time to get off this ship. So you will have that grace period, which could be seconds, depending on if shots end up going into your power plant. But ideally, it's going to be multiple minutes, if not hours, where your ship is crippled, non-responsive, and you go, right, now is the time to get off this ship.
I can't wait for that. I can't wait for that reality when it's so terrifying in game right now to start getting shot and not know where the shots are coming from. Partially because you don't get a ton of feedback to tell you, but also because you don't know what's going to hit you that's going to blow you up immediately. It's going to be so nice when you can be getting shot in your ship and you know you have enough time to get off the ship if you aren't going to be able to defend it. Like, let's say you're flying around in a constellation. Wouldn't it be great to know that that constellation is going to last you like 5 minutes for you to be able to decide if you can fix everything, if you can fight them off, or if you need to escape, as opposed to just making that decision in like 30 seconds, 60 seconds because you're getting slammed by laser fire. You don't know what the heck's going on.
So it's very much a future thing. It's planned in for the future, not for the current gameplay.
Yeah, the Star Trek ideal of everything blowing up in the bridge and running around and having to fix things is definitely something we've that's been in the dream of multi-crew gameplay for this game for a long time. And,
engineering.
It's honestly what first drew me to the project back then. So when we talk about frustrations, one of mine is sitting and waiting patiently for multi-crew gameplay. It is. Yeah. All things in their time. Let's see. Regarding flight physics on planets, things like VTOL mode sort of lose meaning when you can just hover upside down or nose pointing at the ground. Why does it make flying easy, especially for things like the Prospector? While it does make flying easy, especially for things like the Prospector, it does break immersion. Are there any plans to force ships to stay close to horizontal at slow speeds? This would also affect ground combat and make it more necessary, as you wouldn't just be able to point straight down at targets.
All right, here we go. This is the big one. I love hearing about this.
Just that one is yes. So it's playing with explaining. So at the moment we have aero surfaces on these ships, but it doesn't fly like a plane. So they're still driven by the thrusters, but we do change them based on the planet they're on. So they do lose some power in atmosphere, but the thrusters to generate the performance in space have to be set in strengths. To generate the accelerations that we require in space. And then we fly in atmosphere, you lose some efficiency, but we still need the strength of the thrusters to be able to push the ship through the air. And actually pushing aero surfaces through the air takes a lot of strength to be able to do that. So we are limited in terms of, to get the maneuverability in atmosphere currently, we still need quite strong. Well, we still need quite strong thrusters, which means you can hover quite easily. But that's not always going to be the case. So in the future, we are going to move towards control surfaces. And this is going to allow us to move the movement of the ship from thrusters to aerodynamics. So it's going to be the aerodynamics driving the maneuverability of the ship in atmosphere. And then the thrusters are just going to help a little bit. They're going to help just move the ship and allow the thruster layouts to kind of do their work. But it's not going to be the primary source. So if you're flying a Gladius, for example, and you go really slow, it's just not going to have the power to kind of keep it up. And that's where the VTOL ship's going to come in, where they can transform and fly in VTOL and hover, and that's where they'll have the advantage. But we need to add control surfaces first and work out how we do all the controls with that as well, because it's quite a complex problem to solve. Without going full flight simulator, for example.
Right. Didn't we do some version of this before with adding the
old hover mode?
Hover mode.
To an extent, yes. But that sort of tried to solve the problem in a different way, and some people liked it. A lot of people didn't like it, and it was the right idea with not quite the right implementation. Another thing
it's literally, this is such a debate in the Star Citizen realm. I am sure there are people in chat who loved hover mode and people in chat who absolutely hated it. Like, if you talk about hover mode, you will get all kinds of opinions on it because, oh man, oh my gosh, there was this whole thing on Spectrum and Reddit where people were obsessed with telling folks who didn't like hover mode, get good. You guys remember this? You remember that? Constantly, people would just be like, get good, get better at flying. You're not doing it right, get better. And then you would go and you'd try to take off with a ship in a hangar, and the ship would just barrel you into the side of the hangar without you doing anything. And then people would be like, nah, dude, just get good, just get better at flying. And then you come back and you listen to what the devs say about hover mode.
It was the right idea with not quite the right implementation.
And still, you'll still get people being like, no, they nailed it. It was great. It was good. It's how it should have worked. They need to bring it back. And then you look at what they want to do now with the heat system, with control surfaces, and it's like, why would you prefer to have an arbitrary limitation instead of a systemic one like control surfaces and aerodynamics? It's kind of the problem they made with it's almost like master modes, where like master modes forces you to switch into a different mode to do something rather than having the ship systemically cause you to, you know, like give you the motivation to switch modes. I don't think it's as bad as what hover mode was, but it's the same kind of idea. Like control surfaces are meant to encourage us to do things and use what we could call hover mode. Whereas the old hover mode was just kind of like, hey, you're going this slow, switch your thrust, good luck. I don't know, I wasn't a big fan of it. As you could tell, I was told oftentimes to get good, and spoiler alert, I never did. Personally, you did like the idea of hover mode, but the one we got was badly implemented and wasn't an emergent gameplay, just completely forced. Right, yeah. You loved hover mode, Vastin? VTOL is right on the flight panel for a reason. It is. Some modern helicopters do have hover hold autopilots. That was also the weird bit, was that it was kind of like a helicopter implementation for hover mode, but like your thrust wouldn't all be coming from one place like a helicopter. New master modes actually makes sense though. Right, I'm not saying master modes doesn't make sense, but it is a limitation that is implemented to be a limitation. Like what I would have expected them to do with this kind of change they're doing with VTOL was to say, all right, you got to balance your power out. If you want to use your thrusters hardcore, if you want to go fast, you simply can't power your weapons, right? Like you can try to power your weapons, but you will see them struggle. But what they're doing with the master modes is they're saying you can't even attempt to use your weapons at that speed, which is kind of shutting the door on options, which, yeah, might not even work. But I still think, you know, giving people that choice to experiment with it, to try and work around that, is a big part of what makes an immersive sim an immersive sim. And, you know, they're not trying to make Star Citizen an immersive sim, but it's got a lot of elements like that. We got 2 saxophones in one day. Check it out. Thank you, Dodgy. Medic Droid. Y'all are... Look at us over on Twitch. Appreciate the support, mate. Thank you for gifting out those 5 subs. Welcome to the sub club, folks. Check out those exclusive videos over on Discord if you haven't already. It was good for the time, and even now it would be okay. Not saying it should be the way it needs to be, but it was a placeholder until something better comes along. I mean, that's not how they sold it, though, right? They didn't... I don't think they put hover mode in and said it was a placeholder. I think that was like they wanted to make that the way it worked. They need the flight model from DCS. None of us would be flying then. Every time you get close to the ground, you activate VTOL. It's a good habit to build. Bring back hover mode. You missed the explosions at Lorville. Oh boy. Cotton over here. Oh, dude, I've gotten 3 saxophones in one day. Who is this? What is this? What kind of Monday is this? We got a giveaway starting. Thank you, Cotton, for pushing us past our goal for the day. Let's get that bot started over on Twitch. Guys, if you're on Twitch, get active in chat. Mrs. Tomato is going to set up our giveaway. I've got something here from... Oh, crap. I've got something here from our hangar. Some items from Star Citizen that we will give away to one lucky winner over on the Twitch chat as a thank you for your support today. Let me pick out and see what we're going to get. Let's see. The Neoni Ona helmet. What is that? Neoni Ona helmet, Star Citizen. I actually don't know what one that was. Oh, it's the little horns. All right, we're giving away one of these today. I think I dropped something here. To one lucky winner on Twitch. Get active in chat, folks. Thank you again so much, Razy. Oh, gifted out another sub. Thank you. Cotton, Dodgy Medic Lord, or Medic Droid. Thank you all for the support today. But let's get back to hover mode and VTOL.
Another thing we can look at when all the stuff Rich talked about is heat. We don't really use heat at the moment because the way heat works in our game is not how we want it to work long term, and this is something with the resource system that is being entirely redone. But for ships that, like a Gladius, as well as needing that control surface to keep up in the air, like if you're not going fast, those thrusters can start overheating as an extra penalty because.
Also, sorry to interrupt, guys. On Twitch, every sub gets a giveaway started. You don't have to use the raffle command, guys. That doesn't do anything. The only thing that don't say raffle. That doesn't work. Say ! Join. The raffle's already started. The only thing that can start a raffle is the bot.
Those thrusters can start overheating as an extra penalty because in reality, you could just upend your Gladius like that and balance it on its main thrusters. But because they're powerful enough to do that, so they should be powerful enough to do that.
What? 10 subs? Oh my god, can we play the saxophone twice for that? Holy crap. Thank you, Dark Silver. Wow. Wowzers. Guys, get ! Join. Get in that raffle. Get some points for our next giveaway starting over on Stream Elements. Let's get back to this. So I keep interrupting. This is the most interesting part, the whole heat system.
Because in reality, you could just upend your Gladius like that and balance it on its main thrusters. But because they're powerful enough to do that, so they should be powerful enough to do that, but they're going to be working so hard that that heat is going to build up and we can cause intentional problems doing it that way to stop. I've seen people landing their Scorpiuses on the wings that way, and that sort of stuff will start being a lot more rare.
Like a Gunstar in Last Starfighter.
Yeah.
This person would like to know when we are getting better lights for the exterior of our ships. The Mole has forward-facing lights, which allow the pilot to see in front of the ship, but when you try to land on the dark side of a moon or planet, you cannot see below your ship, so you find yourself landing on large rocks or uneven terrain. Also, the players in the mining turrets are unable to mine rocks in the dark because mining turrets do not have lights on them, making it very hard to see the rocks below the ship.
This was a year before this is like 6 months before we got the Vulture, and you guys have seen how those lights are.
Yep, so I'll start with the turret one first. There was a problem with turrets that didn't allow us to have lights on it back when the Mole came out, and that's something we are actively fixing on the Reclaimer at the moment for supporting Salvage, because it has a very similar problem. The pilot of the Reclaimer has the humongous floodlights for illuminating what's in front, but the little Salvage turrets next to it aren't necessarily always going to be looking that way, so we've got some lights on those, and we're just working out the quirks with the system of, at the moment, they're all connecting to the same light controller, so the pilot can turn them all on and off, which is less than ideal for those in the turrets when the pilot decides he wants to turn his lights off and their lights turn off. But it's the goal to have them on, and then when that's working, we can go back to the Mole.
That is still how it works, right?
Lights are too dim / too bright.
Are they working on the Reclaimer now?
A classic video game developer art design standoff that we've had for years, and probably every game studio has. Designers like, I want a light that can see 5 kilometers ahead of me, which means it has to be a certain brightness. Art go, that's too bright. It just blows out all the art. Everything is just bright white. It's a common complaint I see regarding paints as well on ships, in that in some lights they look completely different to in other lights. It's a similar problem with light intensity there. Things look good at certain light levels, things look bad at certain light levels. So design always want the brightest lights we can possibly get away with, so you don't crash into rocks. Art want things to look nice, which means nice balanced lights. And the way we're going to likely solve this is literally having a high beam and a low beam setting. So if you want nice big bright lights for flying super fast, you toggle your headlights into or Nord night vision. I know Todd is very keen on having some night vision. I am as well, but in terms of headlights, we do want that. Maybe not fully dynamic, but some control over the intensity.
Night vision, though. That's one for the rendering team. I think they actually talked about that last year. Let's jump forward to player facing Modularity. This is a big one. A lot of people are excited for modular ships. It became a big topic last year when they introduced the Galaxy and talked about modularity, even though we weren't really getting them too much. Let's see what they were saying, though, last summer.
Player-facing ship modularity? Question mark?
Yep, still planned. Again, like the answer I gave earlier, the people working on it were reprioritized onto other squadron work. So no progress since I last talked about it. It's still planned, still something we want to do, still going to support it. It's not, people think I have a secret vendetta to cut player-facing modularity from the game. That is absolutely
John wants to torpedo the whole game. Was this you that asked this, Radical Gems? Good call.
not the case. It's something we want to do. But there is a place in Star Citizen for both modularity on ships and baked variants. They're not just one or the other.
And if you saw my recent monthly report video that came out on Saturday, you will know that they're currently working on 14 different vehicles for the game. And many of those are variants. It's actually a lot higher amount than they're normally doing. But yeah, a lot of them are variants. They've been doing a lot of variants, which kind of gets people, again, back on the topic of modularity and whether or not, like, how is it going to be supported? Wouldn't it be a better idea to do modules to these ships rather than variants? But variants sell for more money. And, it's a never-ending conversation that I think they really need to balance and think hard about. Like, how many ships do you want to introduce when you could just be changing out components and stuff? Night vision is going to be tricky. Is it going to be IR or heat? Then what happens if you're on a moon with no or little ammo? Atmo. The IR may not work due to no atmo to shield from radiation coming from space. Yeah, that's why it's taken them so long to do, because it's going to be a complicated thing. Variants exist until we have modularity. It's pretty simple. Well, they can't just remove variants from the game. Like, for instance, I think the Scorpius is a decent example of, like, would it have been a better idea to just have the Scorpius be a modular ship? Because we do have ships that are modular in game already. They just don't have their modules. The Retaliator doesn't have a variant. It's a modular ship. So people will ask, like, should they have done that with the other ships that have a ton of variants, or should they have just kept doing what they're doing? I think they're releasing cutter variants at some point soon. I'm sure people will, again, be like, hey, cutter modules? Or...
Okay. Will ground refuel vehicles be a thing?
Yes. These are all the people that want that one fuel tanker that was in the background of the Vulcan concept. I know Paul Jones really wants to make it happen. Because spaceships run out of fuel and you can get Starfarer to come refuel you. Ground vehicles currently don't use fuel, but we want them to use fuel in the future. So then, naturally, that will need to be a thing, because if I can only dread people trying to refuel like a little ground vehicle with a Starfarer planet side, it's not the best application of tools to fix the job.
And
right. So there's not really that many more feature-facing questions here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up the rendering and graphics team so that they can talk a little bit about their challenges in getting night vision working in the game, because it is something that's been asked about a lot. But they have some things to say about the process of making that work. Shout out to Sylvan, member of the community. Awesome guy. All right, we got a winner for our giveaway. Sneaky over on Twitch, active in chat. Thank you so much for being here. Again, thanks to everybody for getting this giveaway started over on Twitch. Sneaky, if you could get a message over to Mrs. Tomato, either here on Twitch or over on Discord, she will get your information and we'll get you that prize, that new helmet sent over to you soon, TM. Which, could mean today, could mean 6 years from now. But we'll get it over to you. Congratulations. Thanks again for being part of this. Hope you enjoy that. That should be a permanent helmet that you'll get to keep regardless of what happens to it, upon wipes and stuff. But thanks again for being active. If we don't see you in chat in the next minute or so, we'll go ahead and re-roll and see if we can find another winner on Twitch. But again, Sneaky, come claim your prize. All right, night vision. Let's hear it.
Well, you sort of mentioned night vision, but you got close enough that we can't avoid it. Now, the question that comes up for every other team, and they keep putting it, I always put it off to the graphics team. What can you tell us, if anything, about night vision tools? Any option for players to improve their experience flying or fighting at night?
Last time this came up, you promised you were going to lynch Todd Pappy. So I think you should follow through on that promise and get him. And because we need, I have technical ideas and thoughts on that, but we need the design. Like, is night vision in the future the same as now? Is it infrared? Is it based on, some other form of technology? But yeah, what I've mentioned.
Magic beams. We're going to use beams for night vision. Okay, guys, I hope you don't mind, but we are Beam Citizen. Makes the most sense. As long as ship variants only change the interior, it is a good bet that the variant is a future module. Why is that a good bet? Just because, have they said that? What's the giveaway for? It was for a helmet in-game. Tally has a cargo variant, a torp variant, and a housing exploration variant. Oh, I thought they only sold one. I didn't realize that they had sold more of them. Well, cheers.
In the past is that if you want to do it really well, then you you emulate what we call spectral rendering, which is an incredibly complicated field, but there's elements of it you can simulate where you can type of identify the materials that have a non-standard way of reflecting infrared light, which would be like anything that glows in the dark or what appears to glow in the dark on an infrared camera, which is type of like reflective gear, like your I don't know, I can't think of any good examples right now, but there's certain materials that type of don't reflect as you'd expect. So they need picking out specially, otherwise doesn't look right in night vision. Otherwise it's type of a filter. You need to type of take your colors and type of it's a complicated topic. It's hard to type of break it down, but what we see as red, green, and blue is obviously not the true picture of what happens in reality. In reality, there's millions of wavelengths of light, infinite wavelengths along a spectrum, and then infrared is just looking at one portion of that spectrum. But the artist doesn't model what happens in that different spectrum. They just model what happens in these very free specific spectrums that the human eye can see. So we have to type of map or guess, how do we get from the artist orbit colors to the type of the infrared spectrum or whatever spectrum our imaginary night vision might be. And there's ways of approximating that, or for custom textures, if you want to like say, if the artist can tell this is exactly what it looks like in infrared. But we clearly can't go and remake every texture in the entire game to show how the infrared would work if we double the textures in the game. So you normally do like some type of automated mapping that guesses or type of a best guess approach, and then you type of override the particularly special case ones. But yeah, it's all got to start with Todd and the request.
All right. Okay.
So
no, you did good. You did good. The next time I ask the question will be to Todd.
I wonder if we have that. Do we have did he ask that to Todd? Let's see. Todd is they talk about Todd. What is this? Is this with Todd?
Get past it.
It is with Todd. All right, let's see. Let's see if he answered it.
I'll let you get past it.
Nice. See, you just gotta follow the breadcrumbs and eventually you'll find your answer. That's not true. You'll almost never find your answer.
I'll let you get past it.
But we're persistent. We make it happen. How much of this will we see at CitizenCon? This, you mean like stuff that we've gone over in this stream, or night vision in particular? It only makes sense from how the Retaliator modules work. The space where the torps go will just be an inaccessible box unless you have the modules. The Galaxy is the same way. The most recent modular ship. That's fair. I mean, it could make sense. I'm more looking for like an actual statement from them, because these are the kind of things, whenever I'm going through these kinds of features and talking about stuff like night vision or modularity or anything that is going to interest people, I can't put it in my video unless I have proof for it. So whenever I think something will work a certain way, I do sometimes mention that, like, hey, I hope it works this way. But I would really love to have the ability to tell people, like, yeah, ship modules are going to be a bigger thing. The variants, you don't have to worry about the variants because you'll be able to change your stuff around. But yeah, I know the Galaxy was definitely sold as a modular ship. The Retaliator too. But like the Cutter is about to get variants, and I don't know if they've mentioned anything about modules there. But we'll see. Going way too technical there. If the shader mod can do a night vision that works, why does it have to be based on actual physics simulation? Because it's a sim, I guess. That is the goal of the game, is to be very simulationive of these kinds of things. And I guess, like he was saying, the game won't be rendered in infrared if they don't have it modeled in infrared. And if they just put like a filter over the footage, I don't know, maybe it won't reflect what you're actually seeing correctly. Because it is a PvP game, it would be important for it to be pretty legible in night vision if that's how they were going to do it. But I don't know. I'm not a graphics person. I could see if I can ask one of them. All right, let's listen to what Todd Pappy has to say, though, because they keep on talking about his opinion on this.
Zulu Foxtrot asks, will night vision ever be a future feature?
I want it. I want there to be different types of vision. So, and I mean, it's something that we talked about, like Tony and I have talked about it for discoveries, being able to look at different aspects of the EM spectrum, whether it be X-ray or EM or IR. So, or in this case, night vision. This to me is just a different, vision mode. So,
full on predator vision.
Yeah.
That's what we've been waiting for? That was the answer? What?
Hey, Jared, are you currently growing your beard to solidify?
That's all we got on night vision?
No, this is
all that anticipation.
Birthday stuff. So we're
go to one of the English barbers.
All right, whatever. Let's jump to the next Invictus Week Q&A, because this one actually had a pretty decent amount of information in here. Let's jump to They're starting off with modularity, so that's nice. Let's listen in.
It says, has there been any progress on modularity since it was last talked about?
Yes. Good news at last.
Good news.
Well, we'll be the judge of that. We'll be the judge of that.
So,
you ready, chat?
Eyes on the chat, guys. Come on.
Yep. So with the development of the Hull C, we've pretty much figured out the last hurdle. And in fact, Chris is responsible for the test that I got him to do for it, where we can have object containers, which is the interior collection of assets, loaded as an item, loaded onto the ship, because that's how the rear of the Hull C is attached to the ship and moves with it. What had stopped us technically going any further with this was items inside those object containers couldn't talk to the vehicle it was connected to.
Right.
So the example of the Retaliator, the torpedo droppy arms, they're actually part of the exterior of the ship currently, because that's the only way they can work. So if we allowed you to swap the modules, no matter what module you had, there'd be a pair of torpedo arms dangling through the middle of it. Chris did a test where he attached a load of missile racks and torpedoes to the inside of the back of the Hull C, which is not going to ship with it.
Wait, you're saying we're not having a torpedo Hull C?
Yeah.
There is a shelf that says "Do not submit" in very large letters.
And the pilot had full control of that, and they could fire them. So after the Hull C ships and we found any more quirks with that setup, we're in a position where, to my knowledge, touch wood, technically there's nothing stopping us doing modularity now. That was the last big hurdle for it.
There's nothing technically stopping us from doing it, but there's also priorities and
things,
and building a team.
Nothing technically stopping us.
Yeah, nothing technically stopping us. Yeah.
So what I heard was that Hull CMX at Citizen Con.
Oh yeah, just full of size 9 torpedoes.
How about a Hull C LX?
All of the cargo arms are just full of torpedo racks that just fire out.
All right, next one. We're just going to put the camera right on John Crew. Physicalized damage. This has been this has been one of those, when we talk about things that hold up this system or that system, the idea of bullets and ballistics and then passing through and damaging the components within a ship has been linked to be the keystone to so many other developments. Anything you can tell us about physicalized damage?
Good news part 2.
Uh-oh.
So it is really under heavy active development at the moment. So physics team have done a lot of work in the last 6 months on it. We're now at a point where other feature and gameplay teams have joined them to sort of work out the quirks with it. The vehicle content team have provided assets of ships set up in this new way of doing things. Should caveat this, it's not a vehicle thing, it's an everything thing. Every destructible system in the game will use this. So whilst everyone sort of uses the vehicle example of bullets going through ships, it replaces the prop breakable system, it replaces the environment breakable system, it replaces the vehicle damage system. There's another one I forget. So environment teams, prop teams, vehicle teams, we're all working on this at the moment.
This is crazy. I think this was the first time we heard about this grouped damage system, which they eventually revealed to us was called Maelstrom. They hadn't, but we just thought physicalized damage was a ship thing. And then this summer, they're like, okay, this is going to be environments, buildings, props, vehicles, ships. It's hefty. Still can't see an explanation to modularity and variations happening together. I don't know. I think one of the interesting questions I would have is the Cutlass. The Cutlass. I don't think the Cutlass blue or red changes the chassis from the Cutlass black. So I'm wondering if you'll be able to change your Cutlass black to a bounty hunting Cutlass black with the module in the back. But again, these are the types of things that we are all speculating about and talking about. And as we talk about them, we set our expectations and they go further and further and further rather than them giving us an actual idea of what they're going to do with it. So I'm not going to say, don't take my word for anything regarding modularity. I don't know what they're going to do with it. I don't know how it's going to work besides what they've already said, which you can look up. Waffle Insanity is talking about some videos where they've talked about it, but I personally don't know what they're going to do. They have shown that they will kind of err on the side of changing things over time with things like the skill system. So we'll have to see. Cuddy Red changes those doors. Right, so maybe the doors would be something that blocks them off. How about the Cuddy Blue? Or the Pisces C8X and the C8R. Do you guys think that that's a module for the Pisces that you can change out? Blue has a different cockpit. See, and so this, I guess, is bringing me to my other question regarding modularity and variance is if you have all these ships that are very, very similar to each other and the only thing that changes in between them are doors, wouldn't it make sense to build them to be more similar if they're that close already so that they could be modules? It's just I don't know, because there's such thing as modules, there's such thing as variants, and there is money tied up in both of those things. I think it's a delicate thing they're going to have to figure out and make work. Complicated, but delicate. Best of luck to them, as with all these things.
Use case scenarios that are with the engineers.
So it's more like an overall destructible physics system.
Yes, yeah. People have probably heard the word Maelstrom in various monthly reports and pieces.
I'm checking whether that's legit or
it's
not.
I'll
wipe the board when we get back. Right.
So that's the name of that overarching system. It's definitely been said.
In all fairness, it's just
no, that was the first time we'd ever heard that.
In various, people have probably heard the word Maelstrom.
Never heard it before that. John Crew leaked.
In various monthly reports and pieces.
I'm checking whether that's legit or
it's
not.
I'll
wipe the board when we get back. Right.
So that's...
See, there it is again in chat. the thing that sets the C8X and C8R apart are lights on the exterior. Is that it? I mean, I guess it, you know, however they want to do it.
That's the name of that overarching system. It's definitely been said.
It's just the name for the system that they already knew was coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's the internal project name.
But by giving something a name, you give it power.
Yeah. Now we're like, where's Maelstrom?
It's more than just the physicalized damage for ships. It is a global, destructible physics system that we're not going to sit here and commit to it being applied to every single element of Star Citizen.
No.
There's always going to be performance considerations. But you develop the system, and then you start to see where you can plug it in. And
You develop the system, and then you start breaking everything with it. Yeah. Love that. Nehoriel? I think that's how I say it. Thanks for the follow, mate. Thanks for coming over from YouTube, too. YouTube's good fun, but we stream here every once in a while. I also stream on YouTube if you want to catch them over there. Segismundo, by the way, thank you for the sub. Appreciate you on that 2 months. For those of us joining late, how old is this video? This is about 2 months old, I think. Yeah, 2 months old. This is from May. Without the ill. Nahore. Okay, I got you.
For it, it'd be like a general system.
Yeah.
Okay. Hi, Chris. Let's see, what else we got? Ship tractors. Ship tractor beams were recently brought up again. What's the state of these and their large cargo counterparts?
So the ship tractor beams, we've done a... Can I talk? Yep. Yeah. I'm just looking at John to make sure it's okay. We've done a lot of work with them recently. We have current implementation set up on multiple vehicles that are meant to actually have tractor beams attached to them. Their current implementation works from a vehicle setup standpoint. There's still some remaining work to do from the actual EUPU team. They're actually delivering the vehicle tractor beams themselves. But right now in the environment we've developed it, you can spawn the ships that have them in and use them.
Ooh, that's fun.
A big bit of confusion is because the sizing, when we did some of it, we did it to weapon sizes instead of component sizes, whereas EUPU have done their development on it. They've decided they want to go in the direction of component sizing rather than weapon sizing. So some of the size numbers will have changed, but how much they lift is consistent for how much we've always wanted it to lift. So, for example, instead of going all the way up to I think the biggest one we ever said was size 6 or size 5 or something. The biggest one now will be the size 3, and we might do size 4 if we ever do something for a very niche situation. But
the SRV is
the SRV
3 now.
Is a 3, but that 3 is able to move ships. But size 2s can do 32 SU containers. I can't remember how much size 1s and 0s do. But
see, that makes me nervous. He's and this could be he's just talking about this. This is the kind of hard part about these sorts of things with Star Citizen and open development in general is he's saying this but it might not be exactly how it is. He's saying size 2 tractor beams can lift 32 SU boxes. But what if that 32 SU box has the densest material known to man in it? Can a size 2 still lift it, or would you need a size 3? What if it had the lightest material known to man? Could a size 1 then lift it? Or would size 1 be limited to certain size boxes rather than mass? Because right now they're limited, or they're rated based on their Newton force lifting capabilities. And that's kind of how we've been led to believe it'll work. But then here he's talking about SU boxes. I don't think it's going to be limited to certain types of boxes, but we'll have to see what they say probably around CitizenCon time or later this year.
But we've just reformatted it as the systems start formalized a lot more. But yep, on the ships, we've got an implemented version of it working currently.
As far as the vehicle content team is...
It wouldn't make sense for the stuff to weigh a certain amount for the box, because they've talked about how cargo hauling, you have to pay attention to how you're loading your cargo based on their weight and density. So there would be some inconsistency there. I think they'd have to figure out.
concerned, like we've done a pass on the artwork to ships that were supposed to feature a tractor beam. We've now added kind of supporting geometry for them and made sure that like it actually works, basically.
Yeah.
Yes, that's the
Caterpillar.
Yep.
Caterpillar's got
Nomad,
2.
Cutlass.
Nomad's such a sleeper with that tractor beam.
15p.
I feel like there's one more.
I feel like there's one more.
One more.
Was it?
Connie Taurus.
Yeah.
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 On its,
We didn't
lower
really
turret.
do anything for that one though, but it was kind of a freebie, right, for now. But we want to
For now.
probably at some point.
But like
with the
we've done
turrets.
proper geometry integration for the ones where there just wasn't any, because there wasn't any on the Cutlass, there wasn't any on the 315, there wasn't any on the Nomad, so there's proper integration for them now.
There was stuff kind of hinting it, but it wasn't.
It's
It
probably
wasn't like legit, so to speak.
Yeah.
It wasn't actually like a utility mount with a actual.
yeah, so they're now proper
big
turrets, so you can swap to the view and use them and move boxes and things.
How's the golden standard for the Retaliator going? We'll get to that point where we do some updates on ships general, but this was a highly voted question.
Yeah, it is in progress. We're working on the cockpit at the moment, bring it up to modern standards, because it's a bit old-fashioned, I guess is one way to say. It's not really got MFDs to the right metrics anymore.
Right.
Doing it for Squadron first, and then it'll work its way into the P when we're happy with what we need to do for Squadron.
Will there be a way to dock a reclaimer to a station in the future to avoid needing to go down to the planet to retrieve it?
So we wanted that originally for the original implementation of the docking collars, but we found that the current positioning of the arms and the engines were off. So we're going to have to go in and fix that, as well as I think we found the actual doors were the wrong size as well. So we need
the
to
door
sort
is
them
just
as well.
some random
We looked
door.
at that and we did some work towards.
No, we wanted to do it. We just didn't have time when we were doing all the other
Docking
salvage
collars.
work.
So it's wanted, but it's going to require changes to the exterior, the physical arms and everything, which are very complicated mechanisms. So it's a big time investment. So it's something that's going to get done, but it's when we can find resources to actually do it. Because, like you said, with the ramp up, every time we try and expand the team, we're losing resources to actually train the new people that are coming in.
So complete rework.
What is all this Crusader hate going on in chat? Y'all better watch it.
I was trying to make a joke and then I got the names mixed up.
There's certainly a lot of room for improvement with the Reclaimer.
Like the rear cargo lift and everything needs
the whole rear section of everyone's favourite multi-stage elevator.
Wait, did you say Starfare or Reclaimer?
Reclaimer.
Okay, so Starfare is perfect.
Starfare is not perfect.
The Starfire is having its insides pulled out, redone completely.
Can I watch that?
Yeah, Xenopew, it is a very unique problem to Star Citizen. They had to fund the developers. They had to pay all the people to make this stuff using assets that would then need to receive this stuff. It's a weird circle of like, it wouldn't have been possible to fund the game without the ships, but the ships also then need to be updated with the stuff that is funding the game. It's a bummer of a situation to be in. You're making an LED Crusader Industries logo for your wall? That's pretty cool. That's actually very cool. What do you use for that?
Can I watch each?
Stream it pay-per-view.
Absolutely.
So we have personal feelings too. Let's see. We talked a lot about the capital ships. Things like this. One of the most voted up questions here is about the Polaris. Simply put, is the Polaris actually in production? It shows that it is on the progress tracker, but the Apollo was once on the progress tracker at one point as well, and priorities change, and yada, yada, yada. So,
people be traumatized by the Apollo.
Camera, John. There we go.
Don't know the question.
That just sounded like Ben wanted the question.
No, I didn't.
You were talking crap.
I think it's only fair.
Ben.
All right.
Is the Polaris in production?
I'm going to start with the Apollo.
Let's talk about capital ships and when they're in development. So Apollo.
The Apollo is now a capital ship.
It got grew so much.
We can talk about the Apollo.
So the Polaris is I'd say it's more in pre-production. Like, we are spending time investigating it at the moment. As we've already kind of hinted on, when it comes to doing our capital ships, we want to make sure that we're tackling them in a way that allows us to scale up to not just do one capital ship, and we can tick off a few more from the lineup. It is like, literally the last couple of weeks we've been looking at it, breaking down the concept, breaking down what is involved with that
Buck, in all honesty, do you think if CIG partnered up with a publisher, the publisher would stop selling ships? Like, think about publishers, you know? Sounds like the opposite of what they would want to do. Publishers like money.
Actually delivering it. I think what people need to understand as well is, this is quite an old ship. The concept is quite old. There's a lot of gaps in it, as Corey mentioned. So really, we're just doing our kind of, our sanity check on everything, make sure we've got everything in progress. It will be going into full production
very soon.
Shortly, yeah, very, very soon.
Very soon, TM.
So.
Can confirm it is in production. We just got an update on the monthly report. The Polaris is in white box, which I think means maybe we'll see it by the end of next year. But that's a big freaking ship. It's the first RSI Capital ship I think we're getting a full interior of, so that's probably going to take a while. There's only one publisher these days. Microsoft bought them all. Microsoft's still pretty small in the game, though. Yeah, like I feel like the other big two, Nintendo and PlayStation, would still have more studios underneath them. Or Embracer. Embracer, I think, has to start selling off their stuff, though. They're not doing too great. This is the real point that always makes me think they're used to publicly announce new features, assets, and mechanics in the brainstorm phase yet. Oh, that's a reply to something. Microsoft owns half the gaming industry? No way. Maybe half the North American gaming industry, but that doesn't sound right. Like, Microsoft has, what, 15 to 20 studios under them? More than half. Oh, now I gotta look that up. That's crazy.
Sorry.
Chris deleted the old interior setup level for it this afternoon, ready for the new one. So that's how soon it is.
We are working on it.
Yeah.
It's just there isn't a full team on it yet.
Okay.
We're doing the pre-productions.
That's
in the pipeline last time. There's been a lot of pre-planning changes to help us further, not have us trip over ourselves. So it is in production in that sense.
Yeah, it hasn't started like white boxing.
Up and
we haven't started
adding
assets to the editor and stuff, but we are basically doing a full breakdown of what we've got, working out how we're going to tackle it, trying to get the plans in place, and answer the questions. There's some holes in the concept which we could do with a little bit more work on, and they're a bit loose. So it's just kind of breaking down that stuff. But we're not we haven't got a team of artists that work on it. We have one, and then I look at it every so often. Corey sticks his nose in it, and it's just it's us trying to. We want to come to a point where we can come together, have a proper kick-off with the team that are working on it, and go, okay, we know what we're asking you to do, rather than being like, hey, everyone, let's have a look. Click. This is cool. Yeah.
Yeah, and to touch on the roadmap bit, something that often gets overlooked on the roadmap is it doesn't particularly show people moving on and off projects or tasks. So you could have someone on the Polaris for 1 week and they go off it for a week and then they go back on it for another week. That will show as 3 weeks continuous, or you could have one person come on, one person go off, then another person comes on, and that will show 2 people for that entire time. In conjunction with that, as part of all of our pipeline work, we've been moving away from our previous scheduling method, which is what the roadmap uses, to being more in Jira. And then, because that live updates with the data as we're working through things, and then at some point we go back and put it in there. So there is a bit of lag in how the roadmap updates. So yes, people have been working on it, but it's not hey, we've got 8 artists working on it since 2 weeks ago when the roadmap said.
Yeah. And I was going to say, with the Apollo, because the Apollo was mentioned as well, that's pretty much what we've done on the Apollo. We had one artist working on it, doing all the pre-production work, making sure it was in a good state, answering all the questions that were unanswered on it, so it's ready to go into production. It is not in production. We haven't got a whole team of artists working on it, but we've done all that preliminary work, and that's why it's not been on the roadmap, because someone's been allocated to it, they've been chipping away at it and getting it ready.
All right, let's see. Next question says, some ship designs have flaws with component swapping. How will this be addressed on legacy ships, and especially where components won't fit past doors or airlocks and things like that?
All right, I actually found a pretty cool picture here. Check this out. So these are the companies that all of the publishers own. Embracer is nowhere near as... Wait, where is Embracer? I thought they were bigger. I don't even see them on here. Ubisoft. Oh, here they are. Yeah, they don't actually own as much as I thought. Maybe this is before they bought the Square Enix stuff. Yeah, see, it still has Deus Ex under Square Enix. When is this from? This is from 2022. Tencent. Tencent owns a ton of stuff too. But the other thing I'm looking at is saying that Microsoft, at least as far as revenue goes, and I don't think revenue is a great way to report on who owns what. I'm not sure why they go about it that way. Brazil's Administrative Council for Economic Defense. And they call Microsoft 30 to 40% of the market, Sony at 40 to 50% of the market, Nintendo at 10 to 20% of the market, and EA at 0 to 10% of the market. So I don't know if that's based on studios. It sounds like it's based on revenue, but studio-wise, it doesn't honestly look like they own that much more than the other companies. Why is my phone vibrating? That was weird. But they have exploded though in terms of size. I definitely think they've made an active decision to start targeting more of the gaming market, mainly because of Game Pass, it seems like. But I'm not sure if I wouldn't say they own more than 50% of the market looking at this. That is just software, right? Yeah, this is just for developing studios. Tell you one single time that Bethesda story making turned you down, other than Fallout. We won't get into that. That's y'all can keep that one in chat. I personally, I'm a pretty big fan of Bethesda stories, though I don't really play their games too often. The times I've played, I enjoyed them, but I'm not a big fan of, I like sci-fi games, so they've never, and Fallout doesn't really do it for me as a sci-fi game, so Starfield is kind of the first one I'm really excited for from them. Has there been any word on the Mobi UI rework? Not really. Just what we saw last year. I don't know if you saw that during the Squadron 42 highlights. Glad Microsoft is back to taking over companies again. We had the best mech games and stuff in the 90s. I think it's dangerous. It's nice to see studios able to get paid, right? And not have to be worried about maybe a smaller publisher that won't hold on to them or self-publishing. But market consolidation can be a little bit sketchy, and Microsoft is known for being a little bit sketchy when it comes to different markets, so we'll have to see what goes on.
Matters. I was just going to look at Mark.
Yeah, I can go with it. So gold, a lot of that's what gold standard's for. So when we go through and do gold standards, using the Retaliator as an example, a lot of the components wouldn't fit through the doors of the Retaliator as you tractor beam them out and move them. So the doors and things have been widened so they would actually fit. Another thing is what components are actually meant to be taken out with tractor beam. So it's size 3 and capitals obviously aren't meant to be tractor beamed out. You're supposed to go to a dry dock and someone else will take it out for you because they're too large of components to do, because theoretically, to get to them, you need to cut parts of the hull out because they're just too large for a person to lift. So the size 0, 1, and 2, you should be able to tractor beam out. Doors that don't fit currently, gold standard will address that. But until we do gold standards on the interiors of a lot of the ships, there may be doors where you can't get them out or places you can't get the components through.
There is a couple random occasions where we get as artists oh, can you jump on this ship for it's a half an hour fix to allow you to get your components out your ship, and we have those. We've got all of the ships divvied up amongst ourselves. So even though people leave and people join, there's the list of all of the ships, and it's okay, you're responsible for these. So if there's a component swapping issue on a particular ship, that one of mine, I've forgotten which one it was, but I had to remove around a little bit of the room. Nothing players would really notice, but it's just enough to make the collision a bit more comfortable to move it out. So you get occasions like that where you'll get a random bug come through, and it's oh, if you've got a spare 10 minutes to do that, you quickly look at it, you're oh yeah, that's a really quick fix that will hopefully make your lives a lot easier. So we do try to, even though we're I'm on this ship for X amount of time, I will disappear for an hour or two if it saves you guys the grief, Yeah.
It depends on the amount of work, right?
Yeah, so if it's a massive overhaul, obviously that takes...
We need
But if I can like sneak it in, like I'll try, you know.
Some of it's really quick wins, like when the ship was initially modeled, or when someone created the component base, they just forgot to like cut a hole in the collision for the components. So it's literally impossible to remove it because it's like behind the collision of the exterior, for example.
I think like, a lot of our ships were made before we had like, there was no feature work had been done on it, so we didn't know how we were going to tackle it. So we were just making the best decisions we could at the time. And now we know better. So that pipeline has evolved, and some of them are super quick. Some of them are like, this door has no animation, it has no mechanics to do the animation, there's just a hole behind it, and they're the ones that take a bit more time. You know, they need a proper art pass, proper design pass.
That's why they call it game development and not game construction.
Well, I mean, Vanguard's a good example, right? Had that little railing, which from that point looked nice, having that little railing as you go up the stairs. I think so, where you just cut the railing off. It's a small little thing, easier to do, but like at the time when we did it, looked good from that standpoint. No one really thought, oh, that railing's going to get in the way of the components, because it wasn't something that people actively
same
thought about.
with some of the component hatches that have doors that sort of clamshell open. They were done so they open it, looks nice and cool, and like, it'll fit out there. You can get. But then when it comes to actually taking it out, they're a centimetre not far open enough. So there's all sorts of little things that you don't spot.
And this is the kind of stuff that happens with any video game. It's just usually they don't have a live environment in the middle of their development. So,
It's just tech debt, really. Like, you know, a feature comes online, it gets proven out.
Buck, again, I'm curious of your takes. You think that Star Citizen is going broke, or is going to go broke by 2025? Why is that?
And then if we have to re-implement that into a bunch of like existing assets, you know, we try our best to anticipate what kind of features will be coming, but we don't necessarily know how that feature will work. So, you know, part of the challenge of being sort of a team that's affected by a feature is you have to then retroactively support it, you know. So I think that's a big part of what gold standard is. These are all the features we need to support in our vehicles, and it's basically making those vehicles comply with those features.
We had it with Salvage as well, right? Like, it was like exactly the same thing, where it was like, oh, there's like loads of quick fixes we can do. Or like,
also, we did talk about modularity. It was a while back though.
Had quite a few of us working on it to really try and like get that stuff sorted out. And other ships that were made maybe more recently, or whenever, like particular ships, you go to fix it and you're like, this is fine. Great.
It becomes a part of your, you know, your validation. It becomes a part of the like acceptance criteria for the ship. Is it needs to support this feature. So, you know, we would bring those features into the like review process and basically make sure actually, if we're making a new ship, it should have physicalized components, etc. That all of the features that exist for the ship will be, you know, validated as a part of the, you know, review process. So it's more the older content that was kind of, you know, when we first started out, we were kind of discovering what a ship.
It's why each one of these that we make, we get better at it. Ideally.
Yeah, hopefully.
You know, the Rock DS.
Oh my God, the Rock DS. He just ends the show.
It's like, no, terminate it, cut them off.
Was that the emergency button?
I don't think. I feel like CIG is a pretty big company, right? Not only are they a big company, they do have a private investor. So they must have a pretty hefty amount of scrutiny on their finances going forward. Risk assessment involving the game not working correctly, involving Squadron 42 getting delayed, involving recessions hitting in the next year or so. I feel like if they wanted to hire hundreds of employees to get to 1,700, they wouldn't just say that out of nowhere, right? They would have some kind of idea of why they could hire. Like, you never hear about a company expanding their operations for no reason. They either they have a record year, they foresee a product coming out that's going to boost their bottom line. Like, I don't think Star Citizen is just aiming to up their employee count for the heck of it. I think that they are expecting Squadron 42 to give them a pretty decent influx of cash, and or they're expecting the next milestone for themselves being, 4.0 and server meshing working to be something that stabilizes the game, or at least makes it much more enticing for people to come in. I might be wrong, honestly, and maybe they're way out of their league, I just feel like if you have a company that's getting to the point where it's making $100 million a year, you would make a little bit better decisions than just hiring people without knowing that you'll be able to pay them. They'd have the capital in the bank to actually pay these people and not just hire them for no reason, especially not if they'd expect that it'd cut into net profits. I just assume that they have big expectations for Squadron 42, and maybe Squadron 42 falls flat, but you know, if it does fall flat, then they kind of deserve to not keep going. That is a game that has been around. If you fire a bunch of people, it doesn't look good. PR reasons. You think that they're hiring instead of firing for PR? Rock DS needs a tractor beam attachment. It really does. I think that vehicle would be so much better with a tractor beam attachment. Problem is they were almost broke in 2017 and sold 10% of the company for $50 million. They don't have enough money in their accounts, yet they literally live from month to month. See, now, I feel like if they were saving a bunch of money instead of trying to put all of that money back into development, people would be mad about that. The margins that they keep seem more responsible than anything to me, because they saw a huge increase in funding in 2020, but they were able to still organize themselves to take advantage of that at the time. You wouldn't be happy having Mark Hamill as a main character. You don't like Mark? Marky Mark? That's not Marky Mark. Marky Mark is your boy Wahlberg. You want to see the numbers that this dude is talking about, them living month to month? Because that's a wild take. I think they're going year to year. It seems like they are plus about $5 to $10 million every year. But most of the money seems to go right back into the company. They said on camera a few weeks ago that 97% of their income goes directly back into paying their people. And you can look it up on Google. It's pretty easy. They publish their finances. Every tech company is downsizing at the moment. It wouldn't be a problem to fire people. Economy means everyone is. Just look around, guys. Being a big company isn't an indication that they don't mismanage. Look at all the other game companies, problems all over. CIG has problems, but funding versus hiring kind of goes hand in hand. No money, no new employees. That part is simple. That's fair. Being a big company doesn't mean that you're going to get things right. But I think that being a big company who's undergoing growth, or at least planning for growth, must mean something, right? What do I think will be better, Squadron 42 or Star Citizen? Well, I'm more excited for Star Citizen, so I might be a bit biased. Yeah, there always could be something that happens that makes it difficult for them to make the same amount of money they're making right now. But I really, really doubt that they could do something to make them go broke in a year and a half. Like, that doesn't seem realistic. Like somebody said in chat, maybe downsizing. If Squadron 42 doesn't do well, 4.0 keeps getting delayed. Yeah, maybe they have to cut back, fire some people, downscale a little bit for now until they can get the game into a better place. But completely closing in on themselves, I don't know about that. Back to it.
Kill it.
The salvage thing was a really good example of how some things you just can't plan for ahead of time. Like, salvage is coming online, we know it's going to use the UV2 damage system. We've done all that for the ships already because that's what damage does when you shoot ships. So we're good. And then when it came online, we're like,
oh boy,
we're not good.
Yeah, we didn't realize quite how much of the like the visuals would affect the actual data. So you know, the parts of the ship that were like slightly wouldn't necessarily take as much damage, and they it'd look fine when you'd blown this thing up. But then it was meaning that you could never like 100% salvage the ship because you couldn't salvage like certain panels, and obviously it just looked a bit weird that you'd be salvaging along and it would just stop, and it's like, oh well,
Or when there was stuff behind it that would make you see through, like
or salvage like the left wing and then like the rear right.
Taryn, thank you for the bits, man. Pizza's living large because of you.
No, in chat they're debating whether I did that on purpose when I mentioned the my absolute adoration for the Rock DS. No, I did not do that on purpose. If I had done that on purpose, I would have said how much I really
Look at his fingers ready. He's going to close it.
Let's see.
Zoster, thank you for the sub, by the way.
Get in there. The C1 Spirit is marked to have an S3 tractor beam. Will the C1 be able to track smaller vehicles? And what's the difference between an S3 and an S5? This goes to your...
Yo, Reese with the 800 bits. That's a lot of pizza, man. Appreciate you. Getting extra toppings.
Cargo containers the size 2, so it's getting changed to a size 2, but it's just part of the refactor of the tractor beam sizes.
It's still just as powerful as it was. It's just the names changed.
It doesn't do any less or more than we said it was going to do originally. It's just that the numbering's changed because we're now doing component grading instead of weapon grading.
Does that mean it can... I don't know if I want to ask this question.
Go on, ask the question.
So if you've got like a PTV that's like super small, can that be picked up by a size 2?
32 SU containers. What was set as the maximum you'd have to ask for UPU.
Full of what though? Gold?
There's the question.
It's their feature.
Come on, give us the answers.
Hold on. Full of what?
Is the PTV...
That is so important. Because that's what we were talking about. 32 SCU of what?
Set as the maximum you'd have to ask for UPU.
Full of what though? Gold?
That's UPU.
Water.
It's their feature.
Come on, give us the answers.
So
all right, I'll just go ask.
Is the PTV smaller or larger than 32?
Well, physically it's smaller.
Yeah,
it's much
and it would weigh less?
Definitely would have less mass.
I feel like I'm getting someone into trouble here. Do the redacted thing.
Quick call Thorsten.
Yeah.
Yeah, ring Thorsten.
Can we get Thorsten on the line?
So that's confirmation that the new tractor beams will be able to lift a gray cat. Let's see.
I can hear the Teams messages as well already.
Yeah, Teams messages are going to break the door down.
What? All right, you had to know this one was coming. What does the Fury and Cutter shutters mean for the Carrick?
It's not as cool.
We'll do them at some point.
No, who's taking it?
Me, I guess. So I want to put them on it. I just need to find time to do it. I was told today after learning of it, because I'm one of the newer members of the team, so I didn't actually know that Carrick needed these shutters and stuff. That's for like these guys who know it inside and out to tell me. So I was informed today, because the Carrick's one of the ships I look after. It's like, oh Dan, if you get time, you can put the blast shields on the Carrick, and I was like, oh, and you're going to say it on live as well. Now I'm going to get bombarded on Twitter until it's done. So
you've confirmed it.
Yeah, so
I got to find him on Twitter.
Spectrum, if you can dig out his email address.
Give us a handle.
Go.
I will try for you guys, but yeah, it's just a case of time and like.
Dan doesn't dictate his own priorities.
Yeah,
so
when we talk about like, when you jump on for like.
Give us a handle though. For anybody who's wondering what they're talking about, the Carrick concept came, it's really bad quality, I'm sorry, but the Carrick concept came with the cockpit, as you can see here, able to retract and deploy some metal shutters over it for added protection. Glass is pretty strong in this game, so I'm not sure if it's needed, but it was part of the concept. It's probably not all that necessary, but you know us nerds, if we see it, we'll demand it, and people will see it as a promise, so they'll have to do it at some point.
Back to like the salvage stuff or like the tractor beaming of components, like if I look at it and I go, oh, that's a quick fix, it'll be a quick thing. But if I look at it and I'm like, that is not a quick thing, I need to ask for some time because it will affect my other work, then it becomes
we did say that you can have a look at it and see how much work it is, and if the file's already been set up, all the animation data's there, it's all ready to go, and it's just a case of we just need to export it and do it, then cool. But if it's going to take you away from the current vehicle you're on for a week or two, then
when the Carrick was developed, we did prove out.
Yeah. It's nice to fix bugs as a treat.
It's just there's more to it.
It's
that
like
needs doing. We made sure it would work, but that's
okay. All right. I thought you were going to say when I take 5 minutes.
No. What I'm saying is we just proved out the spacing, the animation mechanism and stuff. Like it's going to need UV2s, it's going to be LODs, it's going to need more detail and popping, all that stuff.
It's not going to take 5 minutes then.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, he did manage to build the entire Fury all by himself.
Yeah. On a single weekend. In memory of Alex.
F's in the chat.
Let's see. A long time ago in the shipyard articles, you mentioned different component types. We talked about sizes, industrial, military, etc., and the ability to tune them. Is this still the plan? And if so, can you give us any hope for the future of tuning? Love Twingo? I'll let you clear.
Yeah.
Twingo?
We'll talk about the Twingo for the rest of the time. It's sort of more of a EU-PU thing now. Definitely plans to have those different types, grades, sort of like performance windows for different items. And they have a pretty comprehensive engineer slash tuner slash repairer gameplay proposal that they're working on as part of some of the other features they're doing. So it's sort of tuning items is part of that role. So it's definitely planned.
Okay.
Yeah, with that, let's see, anything else? Normally, we're just about out of time. Normally, we do kind of a round robin on ships that are in production right now. Because, like you said, sometimes the public roadmap falls a little bit out of sync and stuff like this. Can you just give us an update on ships that are what you would consider in active production as opposed to like pre-production? We know the Polaris is what we consider pre-production. Yeah. Somebody is on there scoping out the work necessary before it moves into production. But what's in active production right now?
We're in the danger zone here now.
Yep. I'm going to slowly do it and look at John as I see. So there's Redacted that's on Josh.
Yeah.
There's Adam. Will I talk about that one?
I'm trying to think what Adam's doing.
Who knows? Spirit.
Yeah.
Yep. We've got
Too late.
Too late now.
Yes.
I was pretty sure that one was safe. So we've got the Spirit in. What else do we have?
SLV just finished.
Just stressing over here.
Design.
Yeah. Obviously.
Hull C.
Yep. Hull
just
C.
At the end, in its final teething.
We've got some more Redacteds that are on Chris.
Variants.
What else is it? What the US working on?
X1?
What's the US working on?
X1's about to start on the US.
Technically, that's had a little bit of work done there already, but...
Yeah, the Storm is storming through production.
He did it.
No, it was in the segment. It was in the episode yesterday. You said the Storm is storming through. Yeah, no, we actually... we missed a narrative bit. It's, again, some of those things that missed through. It's like, in case you guys didn't catch it from the episode, the Tumble Storm is in a concept promotion right now as part of Invictus, but it is already in production with the LA folks. It's looking good. That stuff you saw at the end, that was not concept art. That was the actual white box and into gray box stuff. It's looking great so far.
They're doing the Santok.
I wonder if they'll try to slip the Storm into 3.20.1.
We'll be updating for the We'll be showing you an update on the Santok Yai for Alien Week in just a few weeks.
Montreal working on some variants of an existing ship. I'm just trying to mentally go around the floor.
Pretty sure that's all of them.
Retaliator stuff we're doing, we talked about before.
G12?
G12 will be going, so in the next year, backlog ships that will be going into production. Caveat, things can always change.
Things always change, John.
Polaris, Apollo, G12, Raylan.
Okay, see,
X1s.
that's oof. The G12, the Apollo, and the Raylan all going into production in the next year is like too much excitement. I don't know about that. Although, one of the ships that they talked about on the last monthly report, I'm really, really hoping was the G12 series, and I forgot that they had mentioned it here, so maybe it is. Yeah, supposedly the team that's working on the Santok Yai will move on to the Gattac Raylan, which I guess makes sense. They're doing the Xi'an ships. But the Apollo would be a good addition for sure. And the G12 would be great to see another ground vehicle coming out of the backlog to get that out of the way. Excite.
I'm noticing something conspicuously absent.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Ban new.
So we'll talk about the merchantman briefly, because we discussed like how we want to do the backlog of capital ships. So we want to start with RSI, because doing the Polaris first helps reduce the amount of work needed for the Perseus and the Galaxy. Mm-hmm. So those three will likely be like a chain of dependencies from each other.
Kind of shared assets.
Yeah, there's a lot of shared assets between them. Obviously the exteriors are like quite different, but you do an RSI hull kit or corridor kit, floor kit,
doors,
beds.
chairs.
Yeah, it all gets reused across them, maybe with some slight material differences. So there are a few things that are problematic with the BMM. Firstly, everything is unique.
Everything.
So it's not like we do one corridor kit.
It can't be modular.
Yeah, it
It's
can't
so
be
many
modular. It has to be
bespoke shapes.
unique.
Yeah.
Nothing on the ship can be modular.
Yeah.
Every corridor, every room.
Everything's unique. So
that kind of same thing applies to the Raylan. So I'm inclined to agree with you, Waffle. I wonder if they have something else going on with the Raylan that means they can do that and not the Merchantman.
The amount of time investment.
I mean, there's some chairs, but
I guess the game features themselves would be different for the two.
So like molded something,
Yeah.
right? There's
So, like,
lots of bespoke
everything.
geometry.
It was.
So
Oh, I like
we
burgers
had a lot
and
of people
pizza.
on there.
Can't
We
make me
had
make
some
that choice. Come on now.
unfortunate people leaving, which people on
Yeah.
Right. There's
So, like,
lots of bespoke
everything.
geometry.
It was.
So yeah, we had a lot of people on there. We had some unfortunate people leaving, which they'd been here quite a while, so we'd lost a lot of sort of that team knowledge and part of rebuilding the team. Obviously, effectively, again, like we said, you don't get new staff members go, hey, welcome to the Banu Merchantman. Here's a completely bespoke thing that does not follow any of our existing art guidelines.
Yep.
And all the time we would have put into that would be just for that ship.
Mm-hmm.
We get no reuse from it. So yes, we will do it again, but personally, I think the time is better spent on other capital ships to get people up to speed, and then we can start putting people back on it.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of love within the team for the Merchantman. I think it's
except for the picture Mark took of it.
Yeah, apart from Mark's
The
FOV.
FOV on that record.
I'm never going to hear the end of that, am I?
No.
No. Okay.
But yeah, I think there's a lot of excitement there for it. It's just making sure that, again, like we said, that the team's set up to succeed with it, and we can actually deliver it to the standards that we expect.
Can you imagine training new people on developing a brand new art style for a ship? Because I generally think Merchantman's going to be one of the hardest ships we ever do, just because of all the additional factors that involve it, the scale of it, the fact that nothing is really reused. It's all unique molded, all the rooms, all the floors. It's
a different
cool
like,
art style
of modeling as
Yeah.
well, right?
Yeah.
In terms of our like actual discipline of like how we make ships.
More organics.
Yeah, it's like more like traditional vehicle modeling, like than it would be like a hard surface weapon.
Yeah, it's hard surface meets organic and it's weird.
Yeah. It's
automotive
strange,
You
isn't
know,
it?
I say we'd worked on that process and we had a good process in place, and it was just unfortunate that someone chose to go off and chase new adventures, and we wish them the best of luck, and it was a big loss to the team, but that initial kind of pre-production was done, and it's there. It's just we just need to get to the point where we can still deliver our current like lineup of ships we want to deliver, and we want to be able to do it justice, and it just takes a bit of time.
And keep
I
on
wonder
top
if
of
they're really staying away from Squadron spoilers by not bringing up the Raylan in this discussion, because they're, Banu Merchantman is a spectacular ship, yeah, and it's a big one, but so is the Raylan. Let me pull that one up for you guys, for those who don't know what ship we're talking about here. The Raylan is a Xi'an cargo ship, pretty big, it's pretty large. It's got turrets, it's got anti-grav technology, it's got missiles, and a whole bunch of sort of custom assets. And you can see here, even the cargo pods in the back are these triangular special cargo assets that might work a bit differently. We don't really know how those are going to be implemented, but you can get an idea of the scale here with the person and entering through the hoverpod entrance. It's a pretty large ship. It's got some very cool styling to it. I mean, it's beautiful. Can't deny that. It is a beautiful ship. It's just a matter of what makes this easier than the Merchantman? And as somebody said, maybe the assets from Squadron 42 that they have to use for the Xi'an ships are something that they can bring over to this one. Maybe it's the difference in the materials and organic design of the Banu one. But they are definitely not talking about the Raylan here for whatever reason.
Of bug backlog.
Keep up backlog.
Feature support, because we're constantly supporting other feature teams. Like you've got the tractor. There was a lot of work with the tractor beam. There's a lot of work with the salvage.
Hey, glad you enjoy these talks at work or on the at the gym. I used to listen to Star Citizen stuff at the gym.
Lots of time investment from our side to actually implement them in the ships and stuff like the resources.
Still do.
We didn't get to it. One of the things we discussed.
Raylan is smaller, okay.
That I want to talk is when I talked about how we balance those things and stuff like this. We'll do another one of these when it comes time for IAE, probably in November. But there's definitely place for in-depth discussion of how we balance that workload. The balance between new ships and ships that are already on backlog, balance between giant capital ships or ships that are an entirely unique art style versus that the same people at the same time could crank out 4 other ships in the same period of time. How do you balance that? And then of course, all the gameplay balance implications at 197 different vehicles now, and adding more and more, balancing, their capabilities and stuff. So there's a video like this that can just be all about balance, and I think we'll probably pursue that down the line because it's a conversation I would really like to have, and I think the community would benefit from it. But that does it for today, gentlemen. Thank you for taking the time to be here with me to hang out on at the end of a Friday. I'm going to need your help putting everything back. As you can see, there's a big giant change to the set, so I'm going to need you here for the next 2 or 3 hours just to move furniture and put everything back.
That looks like a lot of moving furniture.
Okay. For Star Citizen Live, I'm Jared. That was what button? That was John, and that's Corey, and that's Chris, and that's Ben, and that's Mark, and that's Dan. Enjoy the rest of Invictus. I think there's more promotions of the last weekend and stuff like that. If I had thought about it, I would have looked it up and told you about it, but I'm not good at my job. And
I get that.
I'll see you next week. Tune in for Inside Star Citizen next week. We are talking about the resurrection like a phoenix of Arena Commander next week, and there's a lot of really cool stuff coming. So stay tuned for that. And I think we should just end it there.
You haven't done Corey's introduction of role.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Corey, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi.
Good place to end it.
Ben, come back. Why are you not helping?
All right, guys.
Oh, I forgot to say I fixed that and do it because
No,
people have been
say
really
it now.
mean to me.
Sorry.
So I fixed that Invictus tint, the one that was funny colours.
Everyone was complaining on Reddit about
Yeah,
it.
like the 1,000 upvotes on Reddit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's all visible and it's nice.
I'm going to roll it back though because everyone's been really mean to me today.
I don't think they're going to
Chat wasn't mean to you, only us.
I saw someone actually making a remark about my beard that I found quite hurtful.
Is it that it's not impressive enough yet?
Yeah, it's not very good.
I ain't even got one.
Trying. Okay.
I mean, he's up against Brian Chambers. That's rough. And John Crew. Like, if you're looking for the red beards, and then he's got this beard. Dude, I'm sorry, but that's just how it goes. Great head of hair. But yeah, the beard, got to work on that.
True story, the very first video I did, the very first episode of Around the Verse back in like 2014, the #1 comment was, his beard has too many colors. And it shook me for like 2 weeks. Like, I'm like, what am I supposed to do about that? I can't help how many colors, so it's just...
Too many colors?
Yeah, too many colors.
Did you dye it?
No! Don't use, if I had, it'd be a single color. But no, just don't read YouTube comments.
I thought you maybe done like a rainbow beard or something.
No.
Just like salt and pepper.
It's just his face.
Just my face.
Bye.
All right. We're really going now, everybody. Bye.
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 That's why I don't show my face on my main videos. No, I'm kidding. I think there's a time and a place. I like to show my face on the second channel, not so much on the first one. That about wraps it up, though. The Raylan is similar to the C2 in size. It's an interesting one. A lot of these ships actually end up being very... the scale. You just don't get a sense of the good scale. I mean, look at this ship. It looks massive, right? I feel like I come across the same problem when I look at the Perseus, I believe it is. Is it the Perseus? What was that RSI ship that came out not too long ago, and it's got that one picture of it bursting through a hammerhead? What is that ship? I thought that was the Perseus. Am I wrong? Oh, there's a picture. No, it is the Perseus. This one. See, I always think this ship, that's just a gray box. That's... Okay, let's try to open that again. Still just a gray screen. Come on, Windows. There you go. See, this ship, I always thought was so much bigger than it was. And then if you look up the stats for this ship, it's actually not that massive. So sometimes you can get thrown off by the scale when you're just looking at concept images. I guess the Raylan is not as big as I thought it was. I look forward to seeing if that does enter production anytime soon, though, because, oh my... Let me close the window real quick, guys. I just messed up. I just fucked up my cactus trying to close my window. Dang it. Oh, I really hope it's okay. That was annoying. How can it pierce through the hammerhead without breaking too? Oh, you just got to aim for that little hole they put in the hammerhead. It's a nice weak spot, right? But yeah, the Raylan is a cool one to hear about. The, God, what were the other ones they talked about? The Apollo is super exciting. Gosh, we really need the Apollo in game. I know the Cutlass Red is a great one, but the Apollo is so beautiful that I would actually use it. Oh, that's the call to prayer. As somebody called out, there he is. I got a mosque right outside my window, so the call to prayer comes through pretty loud here. Yeah, we're a live band if you want. Lengthwise, the Raylan isn't huge, but it's fairly tall for its size. Yeah, it's a hefty boy. It's a chonk. We need the Apollo 11 rockets. Yeah, the Apollo's a cool one. So overall, that's a lot of the news coming from ships coming up soon. We've got things like hover mode that they're talking about, VTOL, ship tractor beams, modularity, physicalized damage, ships inside of ships, docking, and even we got some good gold pass updates and like updates on which ships are being worked on. That was a little bit of an extra in there. But yeah, this was the review of kind of where ships are headed, and I can't give you any sort of timeline on them. I put out a video at the beginning of the year. I wonder if you can look that up. Star Citizen, new ship features. Let's see if it pops up. Oh wow, a lot of my videos pop up. But not the one that I'm looking for. It's the monthly reports, I guess, because I do say new ships and features in the monthly report titles. But I made a video towards the end of last year called... Here we go. Major changes to Star Citizen ship gameplay in 2023. Now, I do think that I was wrong about a bunch of these, at least so far. Yeah, quantum travel update, no. Fire hazard, no. Resource management, no. Passenger transport, no. UI updates, yes. Vehicle tractor beams, no. And yeah, so a lot of this stuff actually didn't happen. It's just frustrating. But these are things that I thought were going to come sooner. I'm not trying to do timelines on this stuff anymore because you never really know, and I'm tired of being a liar. Some of this stuff they did talk about, I think is pretty well along in development, like resource management and vehicle tractor beams and the quantum travel update. But really, it's not gonna... I wouldn't put my money on any of these features entering the game until they explicitly put it on the release view. Just truthfully not accurate. What was the ship in the thumbnail? I think it was the C1. Yeah, I think that was the Crusader C1 with its little tractor beam back there. Hover mode is VTOL flight in game based on aerodynamics and thrusters. Oh yeah, the Apollo has some drone stuff. They've talked about drones. We didn't hear anything about them today. But there is some drone development going on somewhere in the background. That was the Starliner, Crusader Starliner that you saw. Did I notice a new quantum travel FX in the latest ISC? No, I didn't see that. I have to go back and check that out. Oh, the Raylan is actually not much bigger than the Carrick. Okay. Wow, that's really interesting. But yeah, there are some ship features that are hopefully coming up pretty soon, possibly in the next 6 years to you guys. I do think some of this stuff is going to be here fairly soon, and it will make a decent difference with this game. We've got good stuff coming our way. We just really got to get over this 4.0 hurdle. And yeah, I think it all comes down to getting server meshing into the game and getting it stable. And a lot of this other stuff might start to fall in place. It might not. But I've got hope. I've got good feelings about some of this stuff. Regardless, thank you all for coming for another deep dive, another little review of what's going on with Star Citizen. I will be live tomorrow, but starting on Wednesday, the week will be a little bit iffy. Tomorrow, we will likely talk about Pyro and all the stuff that they've talked about when it comes to Star Citizen's new space star system, going back to 2019 and the updates we've gotten since then, the bases, the planets, the tech, the audio, all that kind of stuff. I'll be talking about that tomorrow on stream, same time, same place. But coming from Wednesday, it'll be a little bit more unstable. We have family coming into town, so I will be taking a break next week from streaming. Towards the end of this week, I might also take a day or two off. So just a heads up to you all, but expect a new video this week. It will be comparing Star Citizen and Starfield. I'm sure you've already seen enough of those videos, but I'm going to do my own because, you know, I want to be in the cool kids club. It's got a little bit of a different take. I think you'll appreciate the video. On Twitch, folks, I'm going to send you over to... Oh, Jfish is streaming. We haven't seen him in a while. Yeah, I think I'll send y'all over to Jfish today. Online, doing some Star Citizen gameplay. On YouTube, folks, I love and appreciate you. Always. YouTube is our home. Let me see if there's anybody, though, that I can send you guys over to over there. Nope. Doesn't look like it. No, nobody is live on Star Citizen. So, on YouTube, y'all, maybe you can go check out my video or something. How do you search my channel in Twitch? Search my channel. Like, look for my channel on Twitch. You just type in Space Tomato Gaming on there. It'll pop up. If you haven't already, check out the new monthly report video on the channel. And I'm going to send y'all over to Jfish again. Thank you guys so much for being here with me. I hope you enjoyed the stream. I hope you had a good time. Got to learn something new maybe. Or just review something you already knew, because you're all smart people. I know you. Smart nerds out here in chat. Have a good one, folks. Enjoy your day. Enjoy your week. Keep it real. Go hug somebody. Have a good time. Love you all. Peace out.